Look at her. Look, she was
Hey, y'all.
distracted. She was caught off guard when the intro ended.
I was moving my drinks around so I can reach them.
What you up to? When'd you get back from Alabama?
The next day. No, you left that morning. I forgot I was still in bed when you left.
Well, you guys spent the whole extra night there because you did the Beast show from there.
Oh, that's right. See, I can't even keep up with it because nobody really paid attention to you being there anyway. So I guess we didn't notice you being gone.
Damn it.
No, I left about, I don't know, probably about 1, I guess, the next day.
Squirrel. Well, anyway.
Hey,
yeah. Hey, everybody in the chat. Thank you for joining us, everything. I hope Spencer can come up with better jokes. Well,
me too, Joseph.
I wasn't really trying to yet, Joe, but we'll see how we get there.
Yeah, good luck. Not going to happen.
Oh, Wanda's in there. Hey, Wanda.
Wanda.
Oh, wait. Wrong thing. This thing moves so fast, sometimes you can't click on the right one. Hey, Wanda. How are you? Sorry I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to you while we were down there.
Hey, Judy.
Anyway, so in case y'all didn't know, we were down in Alabama this past week. We got the tour de force of everywhere, and Greg Howse was mostly our tour guide, and then we actually got to go to Coonbo's place, and Mark Green came up and visited with us and everything. He was there both days. Well, they had 3 days. I had 2. But anyway, it was a really good time, and there ain't no point in me yapping about it. We will bring everybody on right the hell now. So here we go.
Hey, Mark. Hey, Greg.
Oh,
I'll take you got Oh, Coonbo's here.
Coonbo's there.
Hey, Tim.
Coonbo still got the shirt and tie on, fresh out of church. We had to rush him out of.
Look at him all gussy.
We had to rush him out of church.
Don't take your tie off. You look nice.
He's like all dignified looking, ain't he?
Yeah. He looked
You're
professional.
In the wrong place.
Yeah.
What I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do a little preaching and I'm gonna pass the plate at the end of the show.
Coonbo, you're either breaking up or you're sitting too far away from the microphone. Say something again.
Something again.
There we go.
Yeah. All right, that'll work.
How about now?
No, you're good now.
All right.
You're good. So yeah, we had a heck of a time. First of all, I love Alabama anyway. I've always loved Alabama, but between going down to Mark Green's a few months ago and getting to see Spooky Mountain, and then getting to see like Greg's Land where he had a lot of stuff happen, and then getting to see Coonbo's, of course, was just like icing on the cake and everything. But let me tell y'all something. Man, in my opinion, I've been to quite a few states doing the whole Bigfoot thing, and Alabama's loaded. Alabama is where it's at. I mean, there are parts of other states, but I've done seen, a third of Alabama, and there's just booger sign everywhere down there, like in Greg's little area, and Mark Green's too, and Coonbo is, right there close to Greg, but it's not only their encounters and their lands and everything. It's like Greg will be driving down the road and he'll be like, the guy that lives in this house owns this company and he saw one, 3 years ago. And Mark's the same way. Mark takes damn reports all the time of activity in his area. And I'm in love with Alabama. I love Alabama. Definitely, it's got a high amount of booger activity and everything. And while we're talking, I don't know if this is going to work with all 5 of us on here. If not, I'll just remove myself because I'm the least liked one out of all of them. Thank you, Joe. But anyway, I'm going to play this footage so you can see what we were seeing while Greg was driving us around. And other pictures, let me see. Oh, it lets us all on. This is us going up into some land that Greg owns. And there are other areas that's not what Greg. Greg, is this your land or is that land that you used to hunt on?
Now that right there is crossing into where we're going into one of my upper green fields. Not where I've told everybody about before, but it's about 3.5 miles from where I'm sitting right now. I just have to cross to a little spot of neighbor's land to get to mine. But if they could see
Wow.
Where
What?
Greg's got his moonshine still. I said, that's
You're
where
cutting out.
Greg's got his moonshine still.
Yeah.
almost there, but
No, that's in his closet.
actually we're on this footage. We're coming back out from my property instead of going in. But I think no. Yeah. This is when we were coming out. This is the neighbor's property, a little green field, and then he's got an old shooting stand right here. Now this is where we came out from the lake on my property,
Right.
where they rutted my road out, and we had to climb over these rocks. But I own this property. I own 20 acres on the lake. And I think here in a minute, this is where we had to let the Jeep dig pretty good. That's a lot steeper than what it looks like on the video.
Oh, but while this is playing, y'all, and there's quite a few minutes of just footage of us driving around there, but it's so everybody can see exactly what they're talking about with this land. Let me tell you something. If you keep an eye on the footage, if you look off to the left and right while we're riding down the road here, you will see possible structure, definite possible, sign of them being there. And this is not even going into the tracks, the possible tracks that we found. Like, for example, at Greg's house, out behind his shed, that is literally, well, it's not a shed, it's a storage container, that is literally 30 yards, maybe. The back of it is 30 yards, maybe, from his back door. Misty and I found 3-4 possible tracks, squirrel, right?
Yes.
And then you and Mark, what did y'all find down there on that road right behind the container?
Off to it's probably about 50 foot, I guess, off to the right where the edge of the tree line started. There was a little just cut in road that went on up the hill, but to the right of that was like some woven stuff and like not really like structures or nothing like that, but just like little signs of stuff that had been woven together, and there's no way it could have felt natural. There was a stone in the road, a blue, I don't know, I'm not saying that it was left by something, but it was like a decorative stone.
There's where we nearly pulled my Jeep up under my bluff.
This was a beautiful place right here.
That thing was huge. Can y'all see that bluff right there? The kind of entrance to a cave, but it's not really a cave. That thing is, I don't even know how long and how tall it is. And by the way, just so you know, we're moving backwards right now. That's because we had to come up the side of a damn mountain with all of us packed in the Jeep like sardines. And Greg decided to back down the mountain. So we're just backing away. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess we're going this way now. And trust me, a lot of people would have had a damn heart attack just at the backing up portion of what he did there.
Told him he's in the wrong business. He made a good tour guide.
Oh, he'd have made an excellent tour guide. In order to catch Greg, though, you've got to be running a recorder or a camera the entire time while you're driving around, because he's just talking while he's driving around past stuff. There was 20 times where I was like, stop, let me get that on the damn camera. And he just kept on driving, kept on talking, because Greg don't care. Greg don't care.
We went and ate breakfast, and the post office and that little old jail that was across the road, which Spencer about got smeared on the highway trying to run across the road. But he's like a little kid. He really
everybody else was telling me to get going, and Misty was yelling at me, telling me to hold still.
There was a truck coming. But anyways, back to my
She
story.
was like, stand right there.
We go look at this old jail. And, Greg's telling us all about it. And this lady brings her 2 kids in. Well, I'm just kind of walking around, and Greg just veers off from me and goes over to these kids and just starts telling them the story of the place. And Mark goes, where's Greg? I was like, he's in there talking. He sees there are people in there.
He's over there giving a tour to complete strangers. He's like, y'all know about this jail?
Hey, I'm unofficial tour guide.
This was the best outing I've ever been on, as far as just like camaraderie and everybody just getting together and cutting up and having a good time. Oh my Lord, we laughed so much, y'all. You cannot. If we would have had a camera rolling 24/7. I mean, people would have been buying tickets for this on like pay-per-view. It was crazy. Greg's really funny in person, except for when he's an asshole, which is a lot of the time.
Yeah, 80%. I mean, I still get humor out of that too.
This is us at Coonbo's land, and we'll go over all this stuff, but I just want to show you the video. Yeah, this is the jail. And Mark Newbill actually cut and put all this video together and edited it, and I know it had to take him from the minute he got home till the other night to get this put together, and I appreciate him letting us use it.
He just got done right before his show, and he had started on it that morning, and he worked on stuff all day that day.
Mm-hmm.
That's because everybody stayed up till 7:30 a.m. and then slept for an hour and a half, 2 hours, then got up and did it again.
Yeah, ain't no time for sleep.
I think literally everybody got about 4 or 5 hours of sleep over 3 days.
Yeah, there's the bathroom in the jail.
Tell them about them nails all in the wall, Greg.
Yeah, those nails, the walls, you can see them right there. They're 1 inch apart, vertical and horizontal, and they're like that in the ceiling also. But that's nailing those oak planks to the poplar logs. And the walls in that thing are about probably 18, 20 inches thick.
Coonbo, you ain't freezing up now. Whatever you did worked.
I had to go. I'm running off of a hot spot, so I had to go move my phone.
Oh, well, it's working great now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a little jail thing. What'd you say it was, Greg? The oldest?
It's the oldest log jail, and I know it's the oldest log place in Alabama, but I don't know like how far. But it was built in the 1850s or 1860s. It says they can stop and zoom in on the plaque. I forgot now. I'm a whole lot better when I'm standing there by the plaque. the date eludes me, but let's put it like this: it was 1800s. Look at there. There's our police lineup picture.
Yeah.
Me and my overgrown boy there.
That was taken. Yeah, that was taken at the point over there on Coonbo's land, and that's us standing in the bluff cave thing over there on Greg's property.
Yeah. We tried to get Spencer to pet that scorpion, but he wouldn't do it.
I had no idea they had scorpions in Alabama. I've never seen a scorpion before.
Well,
that is the one. I bet.
Yeah.
That's what Greg was telling me. He's like, at first he's like, go see if you can get it to move, and then he's like, no, seriously, stay back, dumbass. That thing will hurt you.
Yeah,
it'll jump.
Really?
Oh,
yeah, they can usually jump a little.
That's where the tents were torn down that they were talking about. Hold on, let me pause this.
I done paused it.
Oh, okay.
There. She got the best side in the picture. Look.
Thank you, Misty. So that site right there. Greg, explain this.
Okay.
What y'all found?
From where Mark Green came up and brought his son about, what was it, 2 weeks before y'all came up?
Yeah.
Doing that about, 14, 15 days, something like that. Anyway, Mark came up and I gave him the 50-cent tour also. And him and his son Jonathan. We rode down and I showed him kind of like what I did with y'all about, where I've had all my encounters. Just carried you around, showed you where I hunt now and where I used to hunt. And the gate that everybody's heard me talk about, where we've had a lot of the encounters, the piece of property that my cousin had sold. It's, I think it was like 2/10 of a mile from here. But you're going across some government land and you drop off a mountain and it's rutted out real bad, steep side of the mountain. It's pretty rough to get in. I mean, we were in my Jeep. I told Mark, I said, let me just carry you down there and show you where this road dead ends. And I mean, you can tell that road's not used very much at all. It's rough and grown up. But we drove down, and this is what we came up on. There was 2 tents. One of them's a smaller tent. It's blue and white looking, or blue and gray. And the other one is a green and black. But these 2 tents were like kicked up in a pile together. Still had some stuff in them. Had a like a cooking grate was in it, and there was some. When we were there before, it was like some clothing, and there was a bag for like a sleeping bag. And honestly, it was a big wad. And Mark and I looked at each other and like, well, I hope nobody's in it. And we started tugging and pulling on it and just kind of stretched it out. And we could see like food wrappers and stuff like that. And there was a pack of batteries and different things that somebody had left a pretty good bit of stuff. And these tents were, like I said, it was still anchored to the ground somewhat, but a lot of the anchoring had been ripped and torn loose. And it was strange. We got to looking, and about 30 or so feet from the big tent was the tent poles, and they had like metal poles, and they're broken all to pieces, and the framework is like tossed over in the woods, and it just looked bad. But as we just got out of my Jeep, parked from like where this picture's taken, my Jeep would have been sitting here, so it was 25 or so feet, and we'd walked over there about to the point a little closer to the tents than where I'm standing in this picture. And all 3 of us, me, Mark, and Jonathan, and we hadn't been there 3 minutes. And behind, it would be like behind where this camera angle is on up the river. It couldn't have been far. It sounded like a big chunk of a rotten log, like a couple, 100 pounds, 200 pounds hit the ground and sounded like it hit and busted. I just looked at Mark, and he looked at me, and like, we all heard that, and he's like, that was close. I said, yeah, it was. Well, we stood there talking kind of quietly, and Mark, what was it? 3 or 4 minutes, you heard we all heard a tree knock, and it comes from basically the same.
It wasn't much longer after that.
Yeah, and we didn't hang out there really long. Then we took a few pictures, and we decided we better go, and we got to get in the creepy feels and the unwanted feeling, and we eased on out. But
Bye, cowboy.
and then we wind up when these guys all came down to hang out with me. I carried them back down there, and when we went back down, this was 2 weeks and a couple of days later. Somebody, I guess, had pulled the tents apart, because the blue tent and the green tent, they were more twisted up in a wad together than what you see here. Some of the stuff had been moved. A metal grating had been took out. You could see where it had been in the tent from like some rust marks where it rusted, and it was leaned against the tree. But I have no idea. All I can tell you is it looked weird, and it took some force to wad those things up like that.
And I mean, y'all weigh in on this, but let me tell everybody something just so you understand why we focused on this and went back and saw it again after Greg and Mark had already seen it. Number one, it's only a few hundred yards from where Greg had. Whenever Greg talks about the motorcycle incident thing and the stuff that happened on his land, like the gate where he was talking about, the things were right there in the wood line while he was walking out back to the truck. This is only a few hundred yards away, so it's close to stuff that has happened before. These tents are not cheap. All of the equipment that was there is not cheap stuff. This is not Walmart camping gear. This is stuff that was ordered.
And it wasn't old.
No, it wasn't old. And we found 3, 4 of the plastic, the tear off thing on propane containers, right? Mm-hmm. So they were out there in the winter. They had was it a 10-degree or a 0-degree sleeping bag box right there? And the sleeping bag was probably one of the ones that was still in the tent. And the large tent, it's a big tent. The poles are the heavy-duty steel poles. It's a big tent. It's the kind that has the poles you put together and you clip the tent onto the pole. So in order for the pole, do what?
It was one of the instant setups.
No, it wasn't an instant pop-up.
The way the poles were when you set it down or whatever, then they're made into it and you just fold them out.
No, it wasn't. No.
The green one was.
No, the green one, the big one is not. The green one is the kind where you literally assemble the frame and clip the tent onto it. The poles are on the outside. That's how it was clipped to it.
Yeah, but they're made onto the tent.
And all of the poles were in a tangled pile, probably 30 feet or so away from it.
Oh yeah, it was at least 30 feet, if not 40 or 50. But
back in there, kind of behind that green tent where they would be at.
Yeah, it would be on. Looking at this picture between me and Nooble, the pole was on way past that next tree.
Yep, and if something had happened weather-wise, I just don't know how the tent and the poles would have been separated like they were. Michael Haywood. Look, she's just picking comments now because I told her the poles weren't that way. It's not an instant.
You know what they are? They're made into it, and you fold tent and poles all up together. And
they are not.
Yes, they were. I looked at it. They were.
They were not.
Say the poles that you were asking about for the other tent, wanting to know where they were. When we went back the next day, they were there. We found them.
Right here, y'all are getting a witness right here. What Noble had referenced.
Either way, the poles were thrown over there off to the side. And I'll tell you this too. One of the corners where it was staked down, you know how the tents had the nylon strapping that are sewn into the corners, and then you stake down through the little ring thing?
Keep that thought. You left that here. You didn't carry your keepsake.
I did leave it there.
Hey, Mark's backstage, but I cannot pull him. I can't get him to pull up, so I'm gonna have to go out and bring him in. We've got 6 things going, so
all right, we'll just swap out. We'll swap out.
What's funny about the tents is that's the exact same thing I found in the Hollins Hunters Camp, Talladega National Forest, back last year when we had an outing. And a lot of people on chat that were there seen the same thing. Food, coolers, clothes, you name it, was left with that tent, but the zipper was ripped out. Like something grabbed it and just ripped it out. And we even found personal papers in there that we turned into the forest ranger. So it's just crazy.
That's one of the corners for the tent. Now picked up. It was still hooked to the ground.
Yeah, it was still staked down.
And
it's torn off through the canvas of the tent and the nylon webbing.
Yeah, it ripped the corner. It still got the hook. It nearly straightened the hook out. But it was strong enough that whatever pulled it, wind, booger, whatever it was, it ripped the whole corner. And that, I don't know about y'all. I'm not no little bitty boy. I can't rip a tent like that.
Well, and just the fact that it was staked down to the ground with one of the cheap little like aluminum L-shaped stakes, you would think that the corner would pick up to a degree or something like that before it tore it from the corner. But I mean, we're just speculating. But Greg is law enforcement, so he's got an investigative background. I'm telling y'all, it didn't look right. The stuff that was left there, fresh packs of batteries in the tent, sleeping bags in the tent, clothes in the tent, cooking grates, pots to cook food in. I don't know about y'all, but I don't just get out of Dodge and leave all that kind of stuff behind.
There was several dollars worth of stuff left. Is, you know, time you count the tents and all. I mean, I don't buy tents, but I'm sure it was worth a lot more than what I would just left in the woods.
Well, the one was a Magellan, which is not a cheap thing, and I forget what the other one was, a Big Agnes or something. Hey, and just so everybody knows, that's a booger rock. That's
my God. We'll get to the booger rock in a minute. We're gonna
look. I got this thing right here. I keep it with me. It's been sitting on my bedstand ever since I got home.
Timmy. Yeah, Timmy. Hey, he said it was on his bedstand. You know that's been under his pillow as he sleeps. Gotta be.
I got a crick in my neck.
Oh man. Now tell me, I mean, I told Coonbo, y'all reminded me of the kids that had the keys to Disneyland the whole time y'all was here.
Yeah, well, that pretty much was. But anyway, so y'all, just so you know, whenever we got there, we met up with Greg. We went to his man cave. We got the sightseeing. Hold on, let me go ahead and play this video some more. We got the sightseeing thing done with all of Greg's land and everything. We ate real good while we were there. Coonbo, are you froze up?
He's frozen.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. We can't see.
Yeah.
You're froze up as far as your picture goes.
Spencer, that picture
I
there.
don't know what to do about that.
The tallest tree in the background over there is about where Dad had that deer stole. There's my bluff again.
And that's a hell of a story. That's like part 6 of Greg's stuff. Y'all realize on several channels Greg's had to do like part 3 and 4 on some of the stuff. Him and Mark Green are both mentioned in Tal Branco's book, what's it called? Southern Bigfoot Files?
Yeah.
You can't buy the book paperback or hard copy anymore. You just got to get the Kindle version, which is what I have. Greg has the paperback version and he keeps it in his gun safe.
Yeah, that thing means more to me than, man, I can't even.
There you are.
Yeah, there's my boy.
That's Colt. That's Greg's son.
Coonbo's gorgeous farm from the porch up there.
That's a picture full of ugly right there. That's a Coonbo's property.
Hey, I'm gonna get a picture of that. Tote my billfold to ward off criminals.
That's a Coonbo's property.
Yeah.
That little restaurant right there that we ate breakfast at, Greg carried us down to. That was a hell of a good restaurant.
Oh yeah, it's good stuff.
That's the inside of Greg's man cave.
There's my wife, lovely wife. She's probably looking at me sarcastically.
That's out back of Greg's man cave. And whenever he was talking about just a few weeks ago, we had him on and he was talking about the potatoes that got thrown out back. And hold on, okay. Misty already paused it. Look at that.
Look at that.
Behind where Rebecca Green is sitting, back behind to the left, it's not very far. I'm telling you, it's less than 30 yards to the front of it is a storage trailer that's right there. And Misty and I saw a few tracks, and I don't think Misty ever did get into it. But her and Mark found something. Mark, New Bill, what'd
Yeah.
y'all find right back there?
We found a woven structure that was back there, and it was weaved between 4 trees. And I don't think that we ever went back and took pictures of it, but it correlated where Greg has said that he has heard these things moving. And I think Al spotted one that was
Yeah.
moving.
Yeah,
Al and Troy Allen, I think, didn't they?
yeah. Al and Troy Allen, right behind where in the picture there where Rebecca's sitting. There's a log road that goes on up. It's just be over her right shoulder. That's where the day before we came up to the LBL for the meet and freeze, they found a pretty decent footprint, 5-toed footprint, rather large. I mean, it's 17, 18 inches. They found it up there from where we're sitting right there. Wouldn't be 75 yards or less. The woods right over top of my head. You go down a swag and back up. It's a little small hollow. But over there is where they found there's a big pine tree. There, I went to physical therapy and they just got out, was bored, waiting on me to get back. But that's where they found a big pine tree and found 6 squirrel carcasses that had been pulled apart. And it was like on one side of the big impression at the bottom of this pine, there was 6 squirrel heads stacked in a wad, and then all the bones was on the other side. So it had a pile of bones over, like if you were sitting on the ground, be like on your left side, you stacked all the bones up, and on your right side was the 6 heads. So that was less than 100 yards from where we're at right there. Now behind Spencer, right where you're, do what?
I was going to say, when I was staying down there October of last year, I believe it was October. No, it might be spring. Maybe in the spring. Anyway, I had old Jake with me, my old retired scout, right around the corner to the right behind you. And that picture is, your LP tanks back there. And I was out to walk him, and he strung something that was back there by the LP tank, fuzzed up, started barking, and Dad gun one didn't jump up and run off down the woods.
Yeah.
That was most all the pictures. Yeah, let me go ahead and let me put myself backstage and y'all talk for a minute. And let me see if I can tweak these settings because Coonbo keeps freezing up for a minute. It might be because we have too many people going at one time.
Well,
Greg,
it very well could be my sorry connection.
Well, you're doing good now. Now you're fine. I took the video down, but we've already saw most of the pictures and everything. I got another video that I'll play here in a little bit, but Misty could come back on, but she ain't even there. She just abandoned us and skipped out of her little she shed down there. But y'all, if you laid eyes on this property, if you saw how thick the woods were there, if you saw all the creeks that lead into this, and Mark Newbill was saying like he's never seen a place with so much sign of activity right around there, right, Mark?
That's correct. I think I have boogered in about 18 or 19 states, and I have never been to a place seeing that much sign. It's almost like you get jaded after a while. Yeah. And you see stuff and you don't even say nothing about it. You just, I just let Greg keep on driving.
I mean, how many possible X's and branch breaks did we drive by just on that one little thing going down in there to where those tents were. I mean, there were possible X's and structure all over the place. It was ridiculous. I've never seen anything like that.
If I had stopped at every one that y'all saw or Misty Hawkeye, we'd still be over there. 3 days later or 4 days later, we'd still be over there sitting in my Jeep, thirsty and starved to death.
What, Misty? What do you think about that ride down in there?
Which one? I went in the house to get a cord, y'all, for my recorder.
The first one.
Oh yeah, no, there was crap everywhere. Like that whole left side was just littered with signs of stuff, and we kept telling Greg, "Whoa, hold on now."
No, you kept telling Greg. Misty yelled at Greg every 50 damn feet, trying to get him to stop. Stop, back up. There was one point.
Well, there was something about every 50 feet, wasn't they, for over a mile?
There was, I'm telling you, and just on that one side of the road is what was so strange. I seen stuff on the other side coming out, but it was like the left side had just the majority of it. And I'm telling you, Alabama is the most boogery place I've ever seen in my life. And I think I had something happen to me every place, every night we were there.
Yeah.
Well, and that's before we ever went to Coonbo's. That's before we went to Coonbo's property. But so that everybody understands, we had a solid day of driving around and seeing Greg's area and everything. We real good the whole time. The second day, we got up and saw a few more things, a few more spots right there around Greg's. And then we got the invite to go to Coonbo, so we were going. Greg drove us, but I'd have walked if I had to, and Misty would have beaten a young child and taken a tricycle to make it there.
Hey, before you get over on the Coonbo, Misty, tell them about it night when here at the man cave before we even went to Coonbo's.
I completely forgot about that. So much stuff happened.
Yeah, tell them.
Yeah, okay. Most of you already know I get weird feelings about stuff. And I'm going to tell you, Rebecca Green does the same thing. And when me and Rebecca got around each other, there was a lot of stuff that coincided. But now that night that he's talking about, Spencer and Greg go to the store. And so me and Mark sitting out on the back porch, and it's dark, and we're just, kind of listening. Don't really hear a whole lot of nothing. Mark's like, I'm going to run to the bathroom. I'm like, don't you leave me out here long. I know exactly what's going to happen whenever you get up and take off. What?
Hold on, though, because everybody needs to be aware that if you saw all the stuff in Greg's area, it's all within, like, as a crow flies, it's all within a few miles. Greg's man cave, which is not his house, that's just where he's got an extra cabin in the woods because he's, whatever. He's got it dicked in life, and he's got an extra cabin out in the middle of the woods. I got a man cave. But anyway, his man cave backs up to one of the big creeks that feeds into that lake that's over there by his property. And he has had a ton of activity right there at the man cave. So whenever we left to go to the store, Misty and Mark are still there, and they're out back, which goes right down. It's a pretty steep grade, wouldn't you say? I mean, it's pretty steep right down to that big creek, which might as well be a river, behind Greg's place. And they have had a bunch of stuff happen there. So this is that night, me and Greg leave at like 11:30, and Misty and Mark are out there. Carry on, Misty.
Yeah, well, and also too, though, like we already knew going to Greg's that there was a good chance that something might happen, and he doesn't instigate them. He doesn't get out there making calls or anything like that. So, I mean, it's we literally were just sitting there. And
it's mine.
Well, Mark goes into the bathroom, and I'm sitting here and I'm just listening. All of a sudden, I get this weird feeling, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" And we turn all the lights off on purpose, just so we can sit out in the dark, just trying to get something to come in close because we're just dumb like that. But it sure did, straight across from me after probably 30, 45 seconds of him getting up and going in the house. I hear, and I'm talking now. These crickets, y'all, are going wild, and you can't hardly hear anything. It's so loud. Well, straight across in front of me where Spencer's talking about, it just drops completely off down to the river. I hear one of the best tree knocks ever. I mean, like, I'm talking loud, clear, and I was like, holy crap. Well, me and Spencer both had recorders going, and so I don't want to make it known that I'm like freaking out over this, because I was kind of expecting something, and I was like, I get to talking in the recorder, and I'm like, there's no effing way that was just a tree knock. That way I know where to go back and check in case it didn't pick up because of all the bugs. Well, okay, I'm sitting there, and then all of a sudden, bam, second one. Sounds just like the first one. I mean, perfect, beautiful, loud tree knock. I kind of say something again, and I'm like, at this point, I'm like, that did not just happen again. So then
Shut up, Robert.
And I get up at that point after sitting there for about 15 seconds because I wasn't waiting on another one. And I go, and you can hear me on the recorder opening the door, and I go, Mark, because I'm telling you, these things will come in on you quick. And I've had it happen when I'm by myself, and I wasn't sitting there no longer. After the third one, I was going in to get somebody. But
y'all had activity every night, did you not?
Oh yeah.
In the chat, Troy, is this Troy Allen?
That is Brother Troy. Coonbo, I got Brother Troy. He's in the chat.
I see it. I saw him. Hey, Troy. He's my brother from another mother.
Troy, where were you? This is like we keep trying to get you there. I know, buddy. I know you had issues going on. I wish you could have been there. It was a good time.
We're gonna get him up here. Y'all got to sit around with Troy, and y'all will get some knowledge. Y'all will get some knowledge.
That'll be
the night before Spencer left. He wanted to hear something so bad he couldn't stand it, and it's like even the boogers don't like him because they waited for him to get up and go in the house.
You are such an ass.
Mark and Greg sitting there, and he walks in, and did we get this perfect call? Literally right behind, over to the side of the gas tank where Greg was talking about Alan had found the feet prints. And this call comes from back in there, and then Spencer comes out, and then we get nothing else the rest of the night.
And like Misty was talking about, guys, I don't instigate these things at all. I'm baby step with them. I'll have the interaction that they want me to have. I don't. That's the rule I told these guys. We're not going to instigate. We're not going to call to them. We're not going to provoke them in any way, because I still don't trust them. I mean, guys, I've had the bad experiences. They won't come
I
up
didn't
here.
lose the tent fight. She's damn wrong.
Oh my God!
I'll go break mine out of the building right now.
I'm gonna go drive back down there and get the damn poles up and show everybody you're wrong.
Hey, where's your rock at, Misty?
In the house with my glasses. Y'all, I was running so far behind, I didn't even bring my glasses out.
I wish like hell y'all had took those and seen if it had matched up. Y'all may have clicked them together and like some type of mystical something come off of them.
It would have been like Wonder Twins unite.
Yeah. Oh, it was so bad. Oh my gosh.
Oh, let me tell you all about the rock thing. Well, we do. So hold on. Wait, before I get there though, we have recorders going. What? Just figured out yet? He can't wait. I'm not listening to you people in comments. Anyway, we had the recorders going. Misty did get a recording. It's a pretty good one of the tree knocks. I accidentally deleted mine,
I think I did too.
and I know everybody that watches this in YouTube land that don't know us is going to be like, "Oh yeah, sure, you both deleted the recordings." We accidentally deleted the recordings.
Disappointed.
I was going back trying to listen to my recorder. Whenever we get back and Misty told us about the knocks, I can tell you for anybody that will take my word on the subject, she had the knocks on there.
They were crisp and clear, wasn't
Yeah, we heard them.
They were on there, and even me, and I'm the most skeptical out of all of them. I was like, there ain't no way 3 knocks like that. Sure enough, you can hear it on the recorder. Mark went inside. Misty was saying, "Don't leave me out here alone." There were 3 knocks, and you hear Misty scurry her ass inside, going, "Mark, Mark," and they were there.
I've had them come in on me camping whenever they start making noise, and I wasn't just waiting. It wasn't coming up on me like that again.
I wouldn't have wanted you to stay out there on the porch too much by yourself. We had to keep a pretty good eye on it, didn't we? They
Yeah. And I don't know what you thought about it, Greg, but what did you think about how we would always sit out there in the dark?
Yeah, I wasn't too much crazy about the pitch dark y'all was wanting to sit in. I like a little bit of ambient light anyway. I mean,
we haven't been through the same stuff that Greg has, though.
Yeah. I ain't totally afraid of the dark. I'm just afraid of what's in the dark. I mean, I'm kind of like John Wayne when he was talking about that girl. Said she ain't afraid of no booger, man. She carry a big old hog leg like that. I mean, that's the way I am. I don't go nowhere unarmed.
And just so everybody knows, whenever me and Greg went to the store and Misty and Mark was there, this has nothing to do with like boogers or anything, but Greg's a constable down there, and Greg's like, "Oh wait, I see my friends." We pulled up in a damn like strip mall parking lot and talked to cops that were on patrol looking for a couple people that were like being wanted and everything. Greg's just sitting there talking to him, and I'm in the car. I'm like, "Hey, don't arrest me." And yeah, they all know Greg, and they just love Greg. Greg's a cop just like them. And we sat there in the damn parking lot talking to the cops for like 30 minutes, which was the whole time that this was going on with Mark and Squirrel.
He was more amazed when we was talking to my buddies at boat. Actually, like my brothers in blue. He's more amazed I was just whooped up there and rolled the window down and sat with them. And then playing a Bigfoot. And
then I'm like, "Greg, ask them if they got any guns for sale, like a 45-70 or a 25-06." And Greg's like, "Y'all got any 45-70s for sale?" And I'm like, "No, that's not a good deal. Wait, we'll ask other people." They are so down to earth down there. It's just amazing.
Okay, hold on a second. I want to answer this right quick because is it going to stay? What in the world? My internet must be messing up. Okay. I didn't freak out. I get really, really excited whenever something happens. And like, I'll be like, "Did you hear that?" Or, I want to know if somebody else is seeing or hearing what's going on. And I was so afraid the recorder wasn't going to pick up. I go in and I'm trying to get Mark to come out. Now, y'all, I'll sit out in the dark by myself and be 100% fine with it until I get a feeling. And when I get a feeling like it's time for me to go, trust me, I've learned. I trust that, and I get up and go. Any other time, I am good with being completely in the dark. But if I get a gut feeling or something that tells me that it's time for me to leave, you daggone right, I'm out.
It is.
Well, they thing about it.
Interject here.
Yeah.
I want y'all to look what Nooble's doing. Nooble is torturing that poor little old dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
That little dog thinks she's in heaven.
Gosh.
Missy,
Excuse me for interrupting.
Missy, to go back on to that comment that you were answering to. I've been with Mr. Coonbo Baker there, and Troy Allen and Jimmy Osmer and some of the other boys be out here boogering. And there's a time when you better get concerned. When you see Tim Coonbo Baker look at you and say, "Boys, we might ought to leave."
Yeah.
that means load your ass up and get in the damn truck. Yeah, that's that'll freak you out right there. Been there, done that.
Well, it's just like I told you. I hear all the stories that you guys are telling me from Alabama. The places we go boogering, we go there all the time. We've kind of figured out how ours act around us. You go somewhere else where people are getting some scary, interactions. I'm not trying to stick around and have one of those. I don't associate with them boogers on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So I ain't trying to just hang out with them.
Yeah, they're not all friendly forest people.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, I
we
believe
got
that.
one that's real brave on my place, and he comes around so much. Old Troy's named him, calls him. He's one-eyed. He's got a bad, but he's been right up on the front porch. I caught him up on the front porch one evening, and he come up there, and that's something I want to show you guys. I forgot to show you, Spencer, was where he whumped the back of the trailer and drug his fingers down the side of it. I've got pictures of it I can send you, but one of the nights that he'd been up there messing around, and the dogs barked at him, and he backed off, but he came back later on and the side of the trailer right there where my head was, and scared the crap out of me. And then he drug his
Coonbo.
Down the.
Coonbo, tell about the time whenever you come around your driveway and saw him up on the damn deck. You saw him up on the deck.
Well, yeah.
Tell about that.
Yeah, I had worked late that night and didn't get off till about 10:30. So by the time I got out there at the farm is close to 11 o'clock. And I was coming up the driveway, and then the road that comes into the farm. And when I started turning the driveway, I had my high beams on. And as I turned in the driveway, the headlights, lit up the front of the house and the front deck, front porch. And there he was standing up there on the deck, trying to get messing with the screen door, like he was trying to get in the screen porch. Now, I had a couple of puppies that I had somebody thrown out on the side of the road, and I was sponsoring them for a few days till we could get them into the humane shelter. And those puppies were in there, whining and crying. And I guess that thing was coming up there to see if he could figure out how to get in there and get him a free meal. But it was the old one-eyed one. And he was standing up there on the porch, and he was having to, do his head like this. He was standing there like this, so he could stand up there. And I got out there and measured up to where he was standing, and it was about 8 foot from to the bottom of the rafters. And so I figured he was about 9 feet tall. He was sort of hunkered over and had his head bent way over. But what was weird is when my headlights hit him and he heard my vehicle, he didn't run off. He just stepped off the side of the deck, and there it was just a one, pretty high step down. Well, not real, about a foot or so, 15 inches or so step down. He just stepped off there, walked around the end of the old hot tub, and walked right across the front yard and around behind a bunch of brush that's down there at the end of the place. And this is a mobile home that's been sitting there for several years. And he just walked around behind a bunch of brush, and I thought he went on. But what I noticed was it was a heavy dew, and man, he left a perfect trackway in the dew. So, man, I jumped out and I ran in the house, got me a tape measure, and I'm out there measuring the yeah, you're right, Michael Haywood. but I got out my tape measure and I was measuring his stride, and he had a pretty consistent about a 64-inch stride from the heel of one track to the heel of the next one. And then I let the dogs out because I wanted all the dogs were in the house, and my 2 German Shepherds plus these 2 puppies, and I didn't want them out at first, but I didn't want them getting out there messing up the tracks. So I'm out there measuring, I measured all the way across the front yard. I measured the stride on about probably 10, 12 or so, steps or strides, and which put me right over there next to that brush. And I ain't got a gun on me or nothing. So then I let the dogs out. Well, Jake, actually, I had 3 German Shepherds then, and I had Niffy, who was a little female shepherd. She and Jake get out there, and they're sniffing all around, and man, they start following the tracks. And they got around there by that brush, and all of a sudden, just as clear as a bell, I heard the thing, like that. Those dogs slammed on the brakes and whooped around, and here they came ran back up on the porch. But that son of a gun been standing there, and there I was down there stretching a tape measure, measuring strides, and I got probably within 10 foot of it, and it was there. But like I said, it was that old one-eyed one who, we've seen him a bunch of times. I mean, when you see his eye shine, it's really noticeable because one eye reflects red like you would expect, or sometimes yellow if his head's turned, but the other one just reflects white. And so I've seen him probably 14, 15 times in the last year.
And Coonbo actually has pictures of the eye shine, and you can tell, like,
oh yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
you can tell there's something wrong with that eye.
Yeah, and just so y'all know, everybody talking. Go ahead, Coonbo.
I've got a couple of the pictures. You can see the shape of his good eye. You can see it real clearly, and you can almost see the I wouldn't say the pupils, but anyway, you can see a fair amount of detail of his eye, of his good eye. But then the bad eye, which is his right eye, is it's just a big old, it's misshapen, and it just reflects all white back. This is ugly. I was wanting to show some people what it looked like, what I saw off the porch. And my brother's got a 4-wheeler trailer that's got some of that DOT tape on it on the corners. It's white and red together like this. And I thought, well, that ain't gonna look like the booger eyes, but at least you can get an idea of what the reflection looked like, And I pulled that thing up and I wiggled it around, and I'd move it. Then I'd run up on the porch and shine the light over there, and now I need to move a little bit more this way. And I finally got it about where, and I'd look at the pictures on my phone of old Odin, and I finally got it about right. And this is ugly, but I took my dogs out that evening, had one of them on a leash and 2 of them running loose, and we go out through the screen door and the deck, and we're walking out, and I flipped my light on and shined over there, and they saw that red and that white reflector, and the 2 German Shepherds, they instantly, hell no, and they turned around and went to the house, and poor little
I bet
her on the leash, and she ran up between my legs and started barking and raising Cain and whining, but yeah, they know what they know what he is, and but
well,
anyway.
No, that was great. And if you saw Greg's property, that's like one of the main reasons we went down there, is to see like firsthand everything that he was talking about. if you saw that, if you saw Mark Green's property with Spooky Mountain, if you saw Coonbo's house, where he's told a multitude of stories about stuff that was right there on his land, when you see it in person, it puts a lot of stuff in perspective. Misty's backstage. I don't know why she is. Look at her. Look at her. What are you doing?
I'm checking this recorder. I was gonna play it if I can find it, if I can get it figured out.
It takes us a while to go through the audio recordings. If you're gonna do it right, you gotta do it second by second and actually listen to them and look at it on a spectrograph. And
I've
y'all,
I knew where it was, so I was just looking for it right quick. But
did you find the Knox?
No, you brought me in, and I was trying not to interrupt nobody, so I was listening to it backstage.
I thought she you were gifted, Rock.
Look, and there she's gone, just like that. It's amazing. Press a button, and
it's magical.
Yeah, she's gone. That's great. That's how it should be all the time. Like, I just bring her in for a comment and just put her backstage and everything.
Guys, I'm not kidding you. That we laughed for 3 days talking about. I just randomly go, well, this one time at band camp. And Timmy. Oh, we laughed, y'all. I'm not kidding. My ribs are still sore. That ain't no joke. I know. I mean, look, I wanted y'all to have a great time, but I can't even express how much fun that I had the whole time y'all was here. Mark and Rebecca coming, us going to see Coonbo. I needed a break. They about to work me to death fixing air and, air conditioning. And I kind of worked it around and postponed a couple things that wasn't in people in dire need. But I mean, I wouldn't have missed that, y'all. That's some of the most fun I've had in a long time.
It was so, like, Mark Green. If y'all ever watch Mark Green, he's like all soft spoken and everything. Mark Green called me an asshole on this trip.
Everybody, Mark.
Oh, your mic is mute. You're muted. No, you're muted. Just like you do to me all the time.
No, you deserved way more than what Mark Green called you. And I'm going to say I never laughed so daggum hard in my life when Mark Green got to laughing, y'all. And threw that head back, over his face. I got the cackling. He got the laughing. We were laughing off each other. Couldn't stop. You'd hear Rebecca. She was up there laughing, but she all of a sudden she'd just pop out with a and then you get to laughing.
Y'all, let's set the stage. Let's bring them up to speed. What had happened?
This is in between Greg and Coonbo's place.
Oh,
we were going from Greg's to Coonbo's, and Mark was following us. Mark and Rebecca Green and Squirrel was riding with them, and they were following us.
Yeah, we were going along. I've got my foot's not super heavy, but I will exceed. Alabama, we're really lenient on most places, but except for down there where Mark Green lives. Apparently, that law enforcement down there has got a grudge or something, or bills to pay. But I drive a little bit over speed limit, 5 to 7 mile an hour, and I'd look up. And I was like, "Golly, we're leaving them," and we're going up before we get to Coonbo's, and they was like. Because I just like slow down and Mark and them would catch up. I mean, we'd lose sight of them, and they're following us. And I'm like, well, I think he knows where we're going, but I'm not sure. We're going up a 4-lane highway, and I'm looking back, and I just I've said this for years. Me and my buddies, I just like look in the side mirror and I look back front, and I said, skinny pedal. And Spencer and Noble was like, look, what are you talking about? I said, the skinny pedal, the gas pedal, not the brake pedal. I said, that's the rectangle pedal. I said, do the skinny pedal. And they got tickled, and then it went on from there. And then all night long, we were like skinny pedal. And it got worse because when we left Coonbo's, following him to the restaurant and then back to his farm. And, that time and one more would have been twice I'd been to that restaurant. So we didn't know how to get there. Wasn't really dang sure where we was going. But I was trying. Coonbo left out, and then I was behind him in my orange Dodge. Then Mark, Rebecca, and Misty was behind us. And Coonbo would get nearly plumb out of sight. I was trying to just bounce
No.
back and forth where I could see both of them. Coonbo calls me. He's like, "Y'all still back there?" I said, "Yeah, I can see you, kinda." He's like, well, come on. I said, "I'm waiting on Mark, Rebecca, and Misty." He said, "Well, it looks like they're pushing you." And I just looked around, and we all started cracking up. I told Spencer, I said, "Damn, look behind us, look over the tailgate, because if they're pushing us, they sit down close. I can't see them in none of the mirrors. I don't know where they're at, but they ain't there." And we started laughing.
Well,
And then,
there was somebody on your butt.
yeah, that wasn't them. That was the guy that
There
was
was
trying to
somebody
put me
on
on.
your butt.
Yeah, that was
That wasn't Mark.
no. That was the guy that passed him. We're going. I looked back. Looked in the mirror, and I told Spencer, I said, "I think that's Mark back there. There's 72 cars piled up behind him."
Yeah.
Look, ain't it, Troy? Ain't
I'm telling you, look, he's like a speed racer, and he gets in that damn truck.
it? He is.
I can drive that truck on 2 wheels.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah,
And you've
I've
seen it.
Yeah, I've seen under the truck, and you nearly shoved Jimmy Osmer down through the timber. Oh, it scared me. I don't know.
Hey,
I went. Hey, I wanted to go look in his truck that night after Jimmy got out and just see how big of a hole was in the fabric of the seat where Jimmy's butt slammed together.
But that was on the way back from the restaurant, though. We got to talk about whenever we first got there at Coonbo's before we went to the restaurant.
When we pulled up, and I was grumbling because I look up and see Tim on the damn lawnmower he ain't supposed to be on because he had back surgery.
Coonbo's on a $12,000 bad boy lawnmower, and he is running around his yard. Greg texted him and said, "Hey, we're here," and he didn't answer because he was on lawnmower, and he is flying around the yard like he is in the Indy 500, with a lawnmower that's got like a 6-foot cutting blade, and he's just flying. And he's like, "Oh, hey," and then he parks the lawnmower and comes over and talks to us and everything. We go up on his deck, and he's pointing out this stuff in the field, and Misty and I, because we've never been there, are just like looking out at everything like, "Oh my gosh, this is where everything happened." And we're like, "Where's the booger tree? Where's the booger tree that he's talked about?" And he's pointing that out and everything. And we spent a good bit up there on the porch, just like just talking and everything. Then we go out in the yard, and Coonbo's like, "Do you want to go up and see the point before it gets dark, so you got like a feel for the lay of the land and everything?" And while he's talking, he walks over and he's like, "I was mowing the lawn, but these damn rocks are in the way." He's like, "These are the rocks that they throw at us all the time." And he walks over, he picks up this rock, and it's like a big rock, right? And for those of y'all that are like me that have never laid eyes on one directly, I've had rocks thrown at me, but I've never found the rock that they throw at me. And Coonbo's like, "Oh yeah, this is one that they lob over the trees. They threw this one, they throw them from over here and over there." He's like, "Here's one of the damn things, and he's got to be careful mowing the lawn." And he reaches down and he picks up another one. He's like, "Here's another one." He's like, "This wasn't here." And he walks over. He's got these 2 rocks, and me and Misty are standing. Where is she? She's right there.
You got to bring her back on. We got to
put her back on.
We got to get our part of this.
Me and Misty are standing right beside each other, like 3 foot away. And he walks over, and he's talking to Misty, and he hands her this rock as he's talking to her. And he's telling her that this is a booger rock that they throw over from these trees. And he's like, from this way and everything. And he's talking to her, and he's got 2 rocks. He gave her one. He's got this other one in his hand. He's just looking at her and talking to her. He's not paying a lick of attention to me. And as he's talking, and he gave her this damn rock, y'all, subconsciously, my damn hand was like reaching out. Like, if he didn't give me that rock, I'd have snatched it from him. And if they're the only been one,
Fun.
if there had only been one rock, I'd have killed Misty with the rock and taken it from her.
Ain't it, April?
And he turns around, is like my hand is reaching out. He's like, "Oh yeah, here, you can have one, Spence," because nobody gives a shit about me. And he's like, "Oh yeah, here, you can have one." And I'm like holding this thing, and he's still talking to Misty. I didn't hear a damn thing he said because I'm looking. Because I'm looking at this rock. I'm like, that's a booger rock. And Coonbo gave it to me. And Misty's just talking to him like a normal person. I'm like drooling on myself like Timmy. But anyway. And then.
Greg, you got to mock him on that where he was standing there when Coonbo walked by with those rocks. Greg was like, you could see Spencer reaching out and that look at his face like, hey.
Oh, I swear, he turned into Gollum off Lord of the Rings. It's like,
but hold on. And that's not the good part. Then, so Coonbo is like, do you want to go to the point and see it before it gets dark? Because we're going to come back here. And everybody's like, yeah. Well, in my head, I thought we were just going to go like drive there and look at it for a minute or so and not really get out or anything. So we go there, and you have to understand, if you see his property, it's like, there's a picture of it in the thing. I'll try to show it again here in a minute. Right, my precious, exactly. And you drive like a mile, then you make a left and drive like a mile and a half. He's got a hell of a property. And you get to this point, which is a bluff, and I'll let him describe it, but you're above the Mississippi or the Tennessee River, and you can see for quite a ways. Thank you, Troy. I'd appreciate it. I'm going to add it to my collection, brother.
he wants it long. He don't want a pile. He wants it long.
Stop it. I know where you're going. But anyway, we get out to this point, and this is, what is it? 100-foot wide, maybe. It's like cul-de-sac in the middle of the woods. And you're 50, 60, 70 feet above the Tennessee River. Do what?
50 feet.
50 feet?
You're 50 feet above the river. And it's about a cleared off place, where we park this somewhat level on top, about, I don't know, it's about 50 yards wide and then maybe 100 yards long, the cleared off area there where we camp and where we park and stuff. But yeah, and you're right at 50 feet above the water, and you can see up the river, that which would be to the east, for 7 miles, and about 7 miles, and not quite that much. So let's say 6 miles, and then you can see down the river about 5 miles, and but it's it's a really great place. My grandfather was going to build a house up there, and had started building one back in the 50s, and lightning struck up there and burned up all the wood and everything. And so he said, well, maybe the good Lord doesn't mean for us to have a house up here. So there's never been a permanent structure up there. But it's, when I was a kid, and this is back before, we had a traffic up there that we do now with us, a bunch of family going there and stuff. And one of my nieces got married up there. But when I used to go up there as a kid, and when they kept so many trees and stuff shoved down across the road that you'd have to get out, and the last half a mile of it you'd have to walk, and you'd get up there, and man, there were structures, teepees and stuff like that up there, anywhere from 8 to 6 inches to 12 inches, all the way up to 8 feet tall, all over the place up there. And as I learned more about boogers, I realized that was sort of a nursery area, like a playground for them up there. And but I noticed even as a kid, there was and a teenager and stuff, that there was always something going on up there. And I know that I didn't want to be up there by myself, on foot that far back in the woods at dark. I'd always make sure I got out of there by dark. But we'd go back there coon hunting and stuff like that at night. They'd scream at us and run us off, chase our dogs off and everything like that. And, but it's you can go back there about any time and something's going to happen. So I'll let y'all carry it from there.
Well, in a minute, I want you to tell about your brother and his friend over there squirrel hunting. But
oh, well, yeah. You want me to do that now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, this is I was out of college and it was about 1978, something like that, around in there, 78, 79. And it was squirrel season, and I'd been out on a date that night, so I was still in the bed Saturday morning. But my youngest brother and one of his buddies had been back there squirrel hunting. I'm laying there in the bed, and this is about 7 o'clock in the morning. And man, all of a sudden, there's all this beating on the back door and screaming and hollering, yelling, "Let me in, let us in, let us in!" Bam, 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 bam. Tim, let us in, let us in. I went up, got up and opened the door, and they came running in all wild eyed. I said, "What in the world is going on?" Well, they had driven back there, and I'd been back there with a tractor, and it sort of cleared the road out where you could, get back in there. And so they'd driven back there and then walked off the side of it of this peninsula, and where there's some good, a good place to go squirrel hunting. And they were just sitting there, backed up against a stump or something, I don't know, and they're sitting there. Well, they hear across the holler, across the slough. There's sloughs of water off the lake that come back up in there, and they heard somebody walking over on the other side of the slough, and they thought, "I wonder who in the world that is up there stomping around. There's not supposed to be anybody back here. I wonder if that's Tim." They thought maybe it might have been me. I think they thought that, but anyway, so they're sitting there, and all of a sudden it comes over the ridge coming towards them, and it's a booger. And I mean, it's the big one. It's the alpha that was out there then. And it starts coming down the hill, and it scares the heck out of him, but he's on the other side of the slough. So they weren't that bad scared. But then he starts sort of coming down in an angle, and he's headed towards the back of the slough where the water runs, where the water runs out, and there's a little creek comes down through there. Well, that sucker, he came down, and he crossed the creek at the back of the slough and came up on their side of the slough or holler, whatever you want to call it. And they were thinking that he was going to go the other way or just keep going sort of straight. But no, he turned and started coming towards them. And that's when they opened up an extra large, super fast acting can of gone and went tearing off out of there and scared them half to death. And they came up and they were, about tore the back door off the house trying to get in. But the thing about it is, I don't know what they thought, because from there to the house was a mile. I mean, and they had run for a pretty good ways till they got to the truck, and then they got in the truck and drove like crazy for probably 3/4 of a mile. So I don't know what the deal was, but it might have chased them. I don't know. I doubt it, but it was broad daylight. Scared them half to death. About 7 in the morning.
The point being, though, they've had activity there for a long time.
Oh, let me tell you, I went back over there. And where it crossed the creek, it left 22-inch tracks.
Holy crap.
22 inches from heel to toe, 22-inch tracks. Yeah.
That's a big boy right there.
It's a big old boy. When I saw him a year or so later, my conservative estimate is that sucker probably weighed 1,100 pounds, probably closer to 1,200 pounds. He was a monster. I mean, he was
What,
huge.
10 foot
He's
tall?
right at 10 feet tall. Do what?
10 foot tall?
Yeah, right at 10 foot tall. Yeah, we've had him up. We've been able to see him against things on a couple of occasions where we can tell his height. He's right at 10 foot. He was right at 10 foot tall. That one is gone now. The one that we have now is not quite that big, and his track's only about 19 and a half inches. But
See you, Mike.
anyway, yeah.
Well, this place though, this point, this bluff, whatever you want to call it, I don't know what they call it, but so we go up there, and this is before we go to dinner. It's still daylight. It's like, I don't know, what time was it, y'all? 6:30?
About 4:45. No. It was later than that. No, it was about 5:30. About 5:30.
Okay. So it was about 5:30. There's still plenty of daylight left and everything. We go up there, and people get out of the car, and we're looking around. We ain't there, but I don't know, a couple minutes or whatnot. And Coonbo's talking about this and that, about like stuff that had happened there before, and clearing the timber up there and everything. And we're talking. We're all standing around in a group talking, and there was 8 of us, I reckon.
Well, that
I
on
think.
the pictures at the front, they can see the group photo of all us lined up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, oh, that's right. That
Yeah.
picture is all of us. Sandy wasn't there.
Yeah,
But
Right.
I think she was the
Sandy
only one.
wasn't.
Yeah, she was the only one that wasn't
Yeah,
there,
Sandy,
I think.
Sandy was right. She was still taking care of her sister, and
yeah.
she got there when we went to eat. When we went back to the
Yeah.
house,
Right.
she met us at the house.
Yeah.
So there
But-
would have been 8 of us.
Yeah, we were all there except for Sandy. And Coonbo's talking, and he's pointing out all this stuff, and we're all just standing around. And he goes out of nowhere. He's like talking, and then mid-sentence he stops. He goes, "You reckon we all let them know that we're here?" And just walks over. Nobody's prepared for this. Like nobody's got anything. We don't have cameras going. We don't have recorders going. We got nothing. And I know everybody, because I'm the world's biggest on when you get out of the truck, have your recorder going, have the camera powered on and everything. I thought we were just going to see the damn place for a second and then go to eat dinner. Coonbo's talking and just stops and goes, let them know that we're here, and just walks over and does a call. And like, if Coonbo goes, whoop, this thing just goes, whoop. Like, right, you couldn't have counted to 2 Mississippi, and whatever it was that yelled back was close, like close, probably less than 100 yards, and it was not trying to be loud. It was just naturally loud. And y'all, I could have stuck that damn rock in my mouth because it was so wide open. Because we go to Daniel Boone, we go to LBL, we go to parts of North Carolina and everything, and we'll drive around 3-4 different spots doing calls. Sometimes it takes 4 minutes, 10 minutes of like doing calls, and maybe on the 3rd time or 4th time you get a reply. Coonbo just walks over and says hi, and this thing says hi back, like out of nowhere. You could knock me over with a feather. And there ain't a doubt in my mind. We don't have the recording to prove it. There's no way I can show you exactly what happened. But I'm telling you, he walked over and just said, let's tell them we're here, and did a call. And the damn thing's called right back immediately. Was that everybody's impression of what happened?
Oh, yeah. That's exactly what happened.
Very clear and close.
And it was close. It was really close.
What was bad is when I looked at Spencer and I said, was that clear enough? I said, you get that on record? And he goes, I didn't get my recorders in the truck. I said, what? Man, he got it on. I didn't know he was doing nothing. And then he passes out.
And Greg, being the jerk face that he is, he's like, I knew he was going to do that. And I was like, why didn't you tell me?
Oh,
I
when
didn't.
as soon as he said, "I'll let them know," I want to let them know we're here. I knew what was fixing to happen. I've seen that too many times, and I just like Mom was just kind of sitting back laughing or grinning, and then when he does the patented Coonbo scream, yeah, it was like as soon as Coonbo quit echoing, it's like 3, 2, 1, wow!
And it was loud. It was clear. If y'all have ever been somewhere and done calls and gotten a reply vocal, you know what a booger scream sounds like. The very second that it started, I knew what it was. There wasn't a doubt in my mind. I mean, I can't prove it, and there ain't no arguing about it because didn't none of us have it recorded. But I promise you, that was a booger yelling right back, and it was close, and it was loud, and it was really clear, and they were saying hi back to him. And I promise you, that's what it was. And of all the stuff that we saw for those couple days, that was so stupid. It didn't even make sense. He just said, "Let me tell them we're here." Did a call, and a call came right back. If you've gone out and done booger calls, you ain't ever seen nothing like that. That was crazy. If I would have had that recorded with the camera, if Coonbo would have told people what he was going to do before he did it, if I would have had that recorded with the camera, that's solid gold. Right?
Just like when we turned them on, I said everybody's turning on their stuff. Nothing's going to happen. They know, and sure enough,
I truly wonder. And I've thought about it for a few days now. I truly wonder if it wasn't because none of us had cameras or recorders and anything going, and they just, they know him, they know that place, they're comfortable there, and they were like, ain't nothing getting recorded. And as soon as he did it, go ahead.
Nobody had a weapon on them either that they could see.
No.
I mean, Greg, I'm sure Greg probably had 15 shoved up his breeches legs. And under his shirt.
Greg's loaded for bear.
What?
Greg is loaded for bear all the time, every time.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine was in the truck.
Then we went to dinner. And I don't know what that place was, Stanfield, Sheffield, something like that.
Stanfield.
Man.
Stanfield's in Sheffield.
Stanfield?
Go ahead.
Yes, it was great.
Uh-huh.
That was freaking awesome. Y'all, we got, well, not we, but Greg and Coonbo ordered appetizers, and they got fried mushrooms. And this is no exaggeration. The bowl was probably 10 or 12 inches long, and the mushrooms were piled up. There had to be 100 mushrooms in each bowl, and it was excellent. Yeah, everything that we got, I think half of us ordered the steak tips, and it was freaking phenomenal. I know nobody is gonna listen to us and go to that restaurant, but damn, if you're ever in wherever that was, Muscle Shoals, maybe
Sheffield, Alabama.
Yeah.
Sheffield. That restaurant is freaking excellent. I assure you, everything I tasted, and I am a food critic. Everything I tasted was freaking excellent there.
It was.
Then we went back to Coonbo's, and we went back to the Point. And that time we sat around pretty much in the dark. And we sat out there for a little while where we recorded and some stuff happened. Misty, you and Mark Green can talk about all that because I didn't really see what y'all saw.
I seen shadows moving where I was sitting, and I thought at first it might have been Colt. So I didn't say anything, and I just kept watching and watching until I seen him stand up and lean back against Sandy's truck or Coonbo's. And I kept still seeing it move, but I see it straight across from me over over past the vehicles, the way the moon was kind of, lit it up as it would go through the trees. And it would move around and just barely come past the other side of the truck. But I never seen it after that. So whatever it was, it's like it was either laying down or dropping on down the cliff a little bit and moving, because you barely caught a little glimpse of it. And it wasn't like you were seeing a whole lot of it move. And when we walked off, we heard some stuff. Me and Mark back behind Sandy's vehicle, away from everybody. And it was a really, really weird feeling. And I got to hearing some calls coming, actually what would have been Coonbo's place at his house, is about the area they were coming from.
Yeah, that's always fun when you're out there in the middle of the night and the calls are coming from your house.
Yeah, that's the area they were coming from.
And they're waiting on you to get home.
Well, as we were leaving, I know this is kind of skipping over everything, but to make the point of what we're talking about, as we're going out, the exact spot that I'm hearing these calls being made, or that area, Spencer's got his thermal going out of the back of Greg's truck, just kind of, looking at it as we're going out. And he actually catches three figures, three something on the thermal moving around in the same spot that we were actually hearing calls.
Michael Haywood, hell no.
We tried to get him to meet some, but he wouldn't.
We didn't get him. We didn't eat anything to need white sauce, but he gets back. I'm smoking some meat.
That's because nothing needs white sauce.
That's probably the only thing we didn't eat. Y'all, I ate like a freaking 15-year-old teenage boy the whole time we were gone, till like 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning.
She did. Misty pounded some food.
Hey, look, we had the snacks. Lord, y'all showed up here.
Greg's man cave is like, it's got enough food in it that if the power went out and you had to take shelter there, you'd be good for about 3 months. And they fed us really, really well. Like everywhere we went, the food was really good. Everything was really good. Greg's man cave is freaking awesome too. It's just like he built most of that himself. And I don't know if you could tell by here, we'll play this again. I don't know if you can tell by the pictures in the beginning. Here, hold on one sec. Let me fast forward. It's hard to do while you're talking on the thing.
Well, Sherry was saying she always tells everyone to watch because they'll crawl under your truck. Back to talking about what was going on at Coonbo. Before that, when we walk off behind Sandy's truck and get to hearing and seeing stuff, Mark comes back there with me. Mark, tell him what all was going on, like as far as stuff moving around. He got to where he wouldn't even let me keep standing on the edge of the tree line because he was like, you're not, just let me in between you and the tree line.
Well, you have to watch Misty. Misty will walk off on you. And so I know Miss Sherry would jerk a knot on my head if I wasn't keeping an eye on her. So when she took off, I took off behind her, and you could hear the movement going on around us. At one time, Misty turned on the light because she thought it was a snake in the grass moving at rapid speed towards us. And once that happened, I told Misty, I said, you stay to the left of me and let me be between this wood line where we're hearing all this racket. And so, because it was really spooky. And at one time, Misty grabbed my hand. I had my arms crossed, and she reached up underneath my arms and grabbed my hand and was just squeezing it. She had a death grip on it. And anybody that's ever been in the woods with Misty, she has, I don't know what you call it, but she has this sense of when things are around. And I go ahead, Spencer.
And she's
There she
fearless.
is, wandering off in the daytime right there.
She's fearless too. It's not like she's scared of every little thing, and she'll stay there even whenever she knows something is there. She wants backup, but she's fearless. Misty is squirrels. She's good to go in the woods for sure.
I've seen her
That right
take
there.
off in a bear refuge where we had just spotted a bear that crossed in front of us not 5 minutes before, and next thing I know, I turn around and she's walking off from me and Sherry. And I told Sherry, I said, I'm behind her. I'm gonna go right behind her. But she is fearless. But this sense that she has, at one time I had
Yes, Donna.
my thermal, and she doesn't have a thermal, and she said, Mark, there's something moving over here to our left. And I spun around, and it was a big cat in the tree. And she's one of the people that I want to be around because she can sense what's going on around her. I don't know how, I can't explain it, but she can.
She ain't scared to poke nothing with a stick.
What got me though was when I heard that moving in the grass. You know, I kicked my light on, but I looked straight down at the ground because that was my first instinct that it was a snake coming. Because everybody kept beating in my head, watch for snakes, and I thought, holy crap, here comes one right at my foot, you know. And so I kicked my light on, and I'm looking down. When I realized there's no snake there, I start leaning my light back up and looking. And as soon as I do that, straight off to just where my light doesn't show, we get a tree knock.
Yeah.
Yeah, at Coonbo's.
Yeah, that's at Coonbo's place.
Up on the point.
And then it happens again, something comes up beside of me like that. And so that, that was strange.
Well, that's like it when we were leaving the point.
Can y'all hear me okay?
Coonbo went down that next ridge.
Yeah.
And you and Rebecca got out, walked down the hill, and that's when y'all were feeling something.
Oh,
And me and Coonbo got a glimpse of something back up the road.
Yeah.
That, you know, even the dog went to acting
That's right.
funny. And that's when we hollered for y'all to, you know, where y'all were at to make sure y'all were okay. And so there was something already moving in there right after that call that, you know, Coonbo got. So
That's right.
You know, and that's what I was saying about Rebecca having the senses too. Greg hadn't even said, we were plumb across the field and didn't even know where Greg was talking about whenever we went in, and he was showing us a spot. And we come by this spot as we're driving in, and I get just this strange feeling just about this little open spot that's off to the left. And it's so weird feeling. And I just look back at Rebecca, and I can see her looking. She's in the back seat and I'm driving. And I see her looking at the same spot I was looking at. And she's just got this look on her face like terror almost. And I look at her and I say, Rebecca, what do you think about that? And she was like, same thing you're thinking. and you know, we get out and Greg is like telling us about this spot and how strange it is to him back there. And it's the exact same place that me and Rebecca has this weird feeling coming in.
And y'all, Misty and Rebecca, whenever they get together, it's like two antennas coming together that is catching the same frequency. Misty and Rebecca together, they can feel and pinpoint some stuff. There was a time on Greg's land, there was this giant field, and they walked over.
That's it right there. This is where we're at.
Yep. And so much stuff happened. Did you pause that?
No, but I can.
Yep. It was right there in that field. And there's another picture of that field. But they walked away from all of us. They walked together. And they were like, we feel something over here. and over here. While they were gone, they didn't know it, but while they were gone, I was like, "Did y'all hear that? There was a Mark Green. What was it? Was it like a whoop or a howl kind of sound?" And I was like, "Did y'all hear that? Did
Yeah,
you
it was
hear it?"
something of that. Like, yeah.
Yeah, because
I swore
we
something hit out in the field too, but I'm not certain on that.
but we were talking, and I was like, "Did that just come from over there?" And trust me, they couldn't have heard it. It was already far away. And they were like, "Oh, there was something here and there was something over there." And they pointed right to where we heard the sound from. They couldn't have heard it. They were too far away. They walked way beyond us and everything.
Spencer, that's the field right there in the picture, of course, but that's the same field where in Tal Bronco's book, where the encounter of my dad's, where we talk about the dad had his deer stole that was laying there dead for over an hour, and
I agree, Michael.
when I went to go pick him up, and the deer was gone, and then I went back 2 days later, and the carcass was thrown out in
And
the field.
and that story is in Bill White's book, well, Tal Bronco's
Yeah,
book. And I'm telling y'all, that book, that one book right there, if you're going to buy a book on Bigfoot, the Southern Bigfoot Files, where eh, that man did not bloviate, he did not exaggerate. That man laid the stuff out in a very factual basis, and he covered a good portion of the state of Alabama. You really need to get that book and read it, because that guy, as far as I can tell, I never met the man, but as far as I can tell, everything he said was pound for pound. That's exactly what I know about. I mean, it seems factual to me. That's a really good book, y'all.
He's
Southern
a good
Bigfoot
guy.
File.
I,
yeah.
I spent three days with him about 4 years ago, and it was a wonderful 3 days. And he's an extremely knowledgeable man as well as researcher. Can y'all hear me?
But
Okay.
yeah, yeah, you're freezing up a little
Hey,
bit, but
picture. Yeah,
I might have I
my
might
picture.
have too much stuff going with the video and everything.
Okay.
Hey guys, I'm going to have to get off here, but
All right, Mark.
I just want to thank Greg for inviting us to the man cave. That's the second time I've been to the man cave, and I want to thank Coonbo for welcoming us with open arms and showing us where I've been listening to these stories for the past dozen years, and to actually lay eyes on the ground where these things have happened, and to have Coonbo take me and tell me, said, "You remember this story?" And he goes, "Right here's where it happened," and it was just amazing. And
and I didn't get to, because of the corn in there, I didn't get to show you a tenth of the stuff I've talked about out there, you know. So I'm looking forward to y'all coming back this fall after we got the corn out.
There we go. Hey, Mark, go ahead right now. We're gonna document it. You go ahead and call dibs if there's another booger rock out and needs to go to you.
dibs. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for having me. Don't forget to hit the like button for everyone watching, and we'll
you gotta
go later.
You got to go back and watch the Beast episode from Thursday to see the first part of this, because they talked about this on Beast while they were still down there. Thank you, Mark, for doing the show. Thank you.
Good to see you, Mark.
Bye, guys.
Well, all right.
Bye, brother. All right.
See ya.
Anyway,
Well,
and
I'm
we
trying
haven't
to
even
restart.
gotten to the thermal.
Yeah, you need to go ahead and get that going before we're almost 2 hours in.
We're
Hey,
2 hours in because it takes a long time to go over all this kind of stuff.
I know it.
And Mark Green's got to go soon too. But thank you, Mark, for contributing and everything. Mark, before you end up having to jump off and everything, what was your overall? You were there the whole time we were. You have anything to add to anything that we said, or do you want to point out any highlights or something?
Thank you, Cashew.
Very active place, very similar to where I live, which Greg and Coonbo's been here. Well, all y'all have been here, except for Misty hadn't been here yet, but very similar terrain.
Just keep her out of there. That's the best advice.
Hey, you're a little bit on my side now. You have to remember.
Damn it. Mark's done gone to Team Misty.
that's right.
I'm still a little special. But when I'm going down the highway and all of a sudden I get this text that says, hey, mash that small pedal.
Skinny pedal.
Skinny pedal.
The skinny pedal on the right.
I said, what is he talking about? Then it hit me like a ton of. I said, that asshole. And I had the phone over to Rebecca. I said, type asshole in and send that to him. Me and Misty got laughing so much. I mean, that was don't spending time with everybody was great, but that was a good pushover right there. That I needed that good laugh, and I couldn't even hardly drive the car for the last 2 minutes because I was laughing so hard. And Misty was back there; she'd get louder laughing, and Rebecca cut in, and I tell you that made the night. But you know, sometimes you need that good laughter to you know, in life. But overall, man, it's very active, and it's you can tell the boogers are there. There wasn't no doubt about it. I mean, I already knew these guys had them, but it's like Mr. Mark said, when you actually get to go to the spot and look at it,
Yeah.
you get the feel for it then. I mean, the feel really – it's like I can tell you about Creepy Mountain all day long, but till you come there and walk across it, then you know, that then it comes in, you know. And but, yeah, overall, man, it was a good trip, and I wish me and Rebecca could have spent more time, but
Yeah.
you know.
Well,
Come back
anyway.
to Indians, so
Sister was scared she was going to get caught.
Yeah.
I said, sister was ready to go. That's
Yeah.
Mark's dog.
Yeah.
Pyromedic threw up a question here back about nearly an hour ago. Says, do you all think dogs are just food for them? And the short answer is yes. Then he said, have you ever heard of a sighting where dogs were with them, like they may have raised them? And a question, the answer, that short answer to that one is yes. I personally have been out on two sighting, investigating two different sightings where we came across dogs that were running with the boogers. Heard of numbers of reports of coyotes running with the boogers, but I think it's sort of a love-hate relationship. They let them hang around till they get hungry, and then they're meals on wheels or meals on poles at that point.
Coonbo,
answer that question.
What do you think about this recent stuff of people talking about Dog Man and boogers hunting together, hanging out together? What do you think about that?
I don't know. I used to didn't believe that, but there's so many reports of it, and some of them are coming in from pretty reputable people. I'm not going to come out and say, I'm not going to wave the BS flag, because, I haven't, just because I hadn't seen it doesn't mean it's not true. But I'm gonna keep an open mind, and if I see it, you'll hear about it, but I haven't
Right.
come across it. Of course, I've only ever seen one dog man, and that was just last year, and actually earlier this year, and you know, so, and it was by itself. So,
The-
I can't. I'm not really
Do,
a good judge of it.
do you think dog men are more rare than boogers?
Oh yeah, there's a lot more boogers out there than there are dog men. I mean, I've seen so many boogers that if
That's
if
good.
dog men were even 30% of them, I would have seen a lot more than one dog man. And I've seen, I haven't seen all that much dog man evidence. I mean, I've seen their tracks a few times, but and I've taken, several sighting reports, but as far as the percentage of sighting reports that I've taken on dog men are probably they're not even ones that I've taken on Bigfoot. So
Right.
although right here where I live is there's a dog man 5 miles east of here, but I've only seen one. And but so I think there's a lot fewer dog men than there are, at least around here,
Or the
than there
members
are.
of
Well, I'd say nationwide, because hell,
Look,
I've investigated dog men reports in Oklahoma, Texas, Arizona, for sure Alabama, and I can't right off the top of my head I can't think more. I know there's more than that, but
look, Leanne's trying to steer this whole show a different way. You calm down, Leanne. That's a different show.
Let me answer that question from my point of view. Leanne, yeah. Like I don't know if you get used to them, because I've dealt with them for 20 years and I'm not used to them. I mean, when I go out right here, it's what Misty kept telling me. She kept saying something about she wouldn't want to have to stay here at my man cave by herself. When I go out at night, I mean, I'm always armed. That everybody here that was here when my wife and daughter and son would leave. Misty, what did I do when Wanda and Abby leave?
Grabbed your gun and you walked them out every time.
Yeah, I walk them out to the vehicle.
Yeah.
I don't trust these things. I mean, I
They got
don't.
there before
Yeah.
daylight. You walked them out at dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's no different than whenever you grow up in the South, you're like, hey, y'all, if you're going to walk out there, look for snakes whenever you're walking, like keep an eye open.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You get
Yep.
used to it.
yeah.
You pay attention.
I mean, I
to
learned
your
as a kid. Go ahead, Mark.
You pay attention to your surroundings.
Yes, sir. You should
Yeah.
always. I tell people you should always be on yellow alert, and if you get that if those little spidey senses get to tingling, you better go to orange alert.
Yeah.
And always have a plan.
Now, all right, because we got to get to this. And before I play the thermal, just so y'all know, we're already 2 hours in. So this is going to go a little bit, but this has got to be done.
And thank you to everybody who's been sticking around with us for so long, by the way. I know that's a long time just to sit and listen to a podcast, but y'all.
Yeah,
I mean,
at one point we had close to 100 people.
there's still a lot for.
Look, we still ain't. We may not even get to touch on what me and Misty saw across the road.
No, you and your damn yellow sign, which if Misty hadn't been yapping, I might have caught a glimpse of it.
There again, we had to argue because I don't even remember what it was over, but Spencer's over here to the right of me, and I'm having to put him in his place, so I'm looking at him.
Oh, whatever. If you would stop talking for 30 seconds, people would catch more stuff. Anyway.
I seen it.
So coming back from the point, the bluff over on Coonbo's land. We're coming back, and Coonbo had talked about the booger tree. If you've ever heard him talk about growing up on the farm, he talked about the booger tree. In fact, Coonbo, would you go ahead and run through the whole thing about the booger tree real quick?
Well, there's a big oak tree that grows out on the top of a ridge in one of our fields, and that field for decades and decades and decades was a cow pasture, and so they just let it grow wild, and it had limbs that were all the way down low to the ground, and you know, an oak that grows out in the open and is not constricted by anything grows a lot differently than the oak tree in the woods. And this thing is just spread out real big, had limbs down low to the ground. And
shut up, Ray.
And from that tree, you could see over there to my grandparents' house and two of the tenant houses that were on the farm. And you could see one of the barns, you could see our stables, and you could see our storage shed and everything out there from that tree. And right before my grandfather died, he loaded me up the truck and we rode out there, and he says, he never called me my name, he just called me boy. And he said, "Boy, you see that tree right there?" And I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Those catamounts sit up in that tree and watch us. And every time I come over here, they jump down and run off down that holler right over yonder." And well, you know, the word Bigfoot had not been invented. We'd never heard of Sasquatch in this part of the country at that time. This is in the late 50s. And so my grandfather and my dad called them catamounts. And then he says, and I'm like, okay, because I knew what a catamount was then. And he says, "And I don't want to hear about you coming over here and climbing in that tree." Well, at that young age that I hadn't even thought about climbing trees. And the idea of me coming all the way over by myself had never even tickled in my mind. And I remember thinking, well, that's sort of a weird thing for him to say. But then he went on, he says, "And if I hear about you bringing your little sister over here, playing around this tree, I'll tear your rear end up, boy." And my little sister, she was an infant then. And her had never thought of that, would have thought of that. But I realize now, I realize later in later years, I think he knew he was fixing to die, and he was just trying to, give me some instruction before he passed away. But so anyway, I've always known that is the catamount tree, or I call it the booger tree now. But I have heard calls from over there a couple of times when I retired year before last and moved back down here, and when I moved back out on the farm, my first night was not this past March, but was March the 3rd of last year. And that very first night, I heard a couple of calls from over there to Booger Tree. And it's like, I felt like, well, they're welcoming me home. But I have never seen one over there at that tree. Unfortunately, a few years ago, we converted that part of the farm from pasture land to row crop. And so they want to maximize the amount of area that they can plant. So they cut all the bottom limbs off the tree so that you can get a tractor up underneath it. And the tree is still there and everything, but it's not like it used to be. And I don't know if boogers, I imagine they probably can still climb it, but they probably don't use it like they do now. So I've been wondering, well, what are they doing instead? So turn it over to you, Spencer.
Before you, go, Mark.
Y'all take care, everybody. I hate to go, but I gotta get ready for work. We'll see y'all next time.
I'm sorry, Mark. It was a long show. Thank you for doing it.
Everything's good. We'll see y'all later.
All right, man.
Thank you, Mark.
Tell Rebecca.
What?
Yeah.
Look, and y'all, just so you know, Look, Misty's like not even there. She just left. We don't. Nobody knows what happened to Misty. It's probably for the better. And also, before we get to the thermal, you see that man right there, Troy? He's talking about creek people. I don't even know what that means. He's probably got some kind of Native American definition for it or whatnot. You should listen to that man. You should listen to Troy Allen. Anyway, so without further ado, oh no, gotta bring it up.
Oh, sorry, I missed
there
Mark. I heard him leaving as JR's watching in the house.
I told you, Mark, she don't like you. That's why you weren't on the thumbnail or anything. Told you.
I didn't lie, and Mark knows better. He didn't call me the asshole.
How come you don't never let JR like wander through the background like Sherry does Mr. Jim every now and then?
Because she locks the damn door to keep him out. She don't even like her own husband.
I do, but I just locked the door.
I like JR. JR was Team Spencer #1. He was the first one. But anyway.
He just got
so after we were out there at the point at the bluff thing, we were coming back, and I told y'all at the beginning, like his property, it's huge. Coonbo, how many acres do you own? Well, like right there on the farm. How many acres is it?
Well, it's over 500. It's over 500.
It's a long damn ways. That cornfield is huge. That one picture in the thing that we did, the video thing, the montage, it shows like looking from Coonbo's like front deck and looking out there. But the cornfield itself is huge. And you drive forever to go beside the cornfield and go up to the point. But the booger tree, and I wish I had it just as a picture to show y'all. You can see the booger tree that he talks about from old times. That's way out there a few hundred yards away from his front deck. And that's like, you drive by it, but you go down past everything else and then make a left and go by it. But anyway, whenever he was talking about that they did that field different for row crops, and then they cut off the bottom branches of the booger tree. Coming back to his house, yep, that's it. And if you look at the photo that Misty is showing,
it's the biggest tree. In fact, if you look at the see the bird bath, look above the bird bath and slightly to the right. All right.
Yep.
Yeah, go down a little bit, Misty. That's it. Right in the middle. That's the booger tree.
Okay.
And that's actually. It looks like that it's in the edge of the woods, but it's not. It's actually standing out in the field.
Misty, scroll over, and show the tree that we caught thermal in. Yep.
Can you scroll over a little bit further? Well, you can't quite see the one you saw the thermal in from that angle.
No, it ain't that one.
It's the other way, but you can't quite see it. That old is blocking it. Yeah, you can't quite go.
Yeah, keep going.
I'm trying.
Scroll.
I can't. If I do it too fast, it'll go completely out.
It's behind that one.
Yeah, it's behind that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's behind that one. It's probably, I don't know, the closest we got to it going. If y'all are looking at Misty's phone, that tree that's on the far side there, we had to go beside that and go all the way around the cornfield.
The road runs right in front of, just in front of those trees that you see in the distance right there.
Yep.
The road runs between the corn and those trees that you see in that picture.
But the tree that we got the thermal in, Coonbo, how far away is that from your house?
From my house, it's about probably 300 and, well, let me see here. Let me think. All right, that was a square 40 in there. Probably about 350 yards.
And
So about 350.
The closest we could get to it whenever we were driving out, I mean, we might have been 100, 120 yards
Yeah, what I did
away.
I went over there yesterday, and I got, because I saw y'all sitting over there when you were looking at it with your thermal, and so I went over there in my truck, and Greg and mine's truck are about the same height, and what I did is I got on the road and I moved around to where I could see over there to the house where I was sitting, when I could see y'all sitting over there. And it's only about a 20-yard section of that road where I could see my truck from the house, or see the house from my truck. So y'all were somewhere between 100 and 120 yards from the tree.
And everybody needs to know that my thermal has a one-time zoom as the base level. Okay. But so this is 100 and 120 yards away with one-time zoom. And it was big enough for me to go, holy cow, that's something. And I had Greg stop. I'll go ahead and play the video. Y'all can look at this.
This is the thermal I was talking about, y'all, that Spencer captured on the way out from where we were hearing stuff.
Now, I'm going to play it, and then we will talk about it afterwards. But here we go.
Boom, right there.
You can see one before it even gets to that point back off behind this one.
All right.
So let me tell people something in case you don't like spend a lot of time in the woods. Whatever that was, it was big. I'm not saying what it was, but it was big enough for us to see it like at that level at 120 yards away. The tree is huge. I mean, a lot of the trees that he has, the booger tree, is the base of it is as big as a small car. I mean, huge trees. We were 100.
It would take 4 people to reach, 4 to 5 people to reach around it.
Oh yeah,
I said it would take 4 to 5 people to reach around it easy. Yeah, easy.
Yeah, the booger tree is. These other trees are really big too. This is old growth timber. This is big stuff. I mean, this isn't a tree that's like 2 foot in diameter. It's a tree that's 6 foot in diameter. But anyway, it was big enough for us to go, whoa, hey, that's something. Stop. And I'll play it again in a minute. You can see by the way that it moves, it's very athletic. It's almost cat-like. But like, if you're talking about cats, if you're not out in the woods, if you don't spend a lot of time doing this, bobcats, cougars, all that kind of stuff, they're solitary predators, except for during mating season, which it's not right now. And even then, they're not like hanging out in a tree, 2 or 3 of them together. I'll play it again because I can't see the comments right now. Hold on.
There's 3 there, and Coonbo counted 3 also. When it very first starts, if you guys look kind of right in the middle, up, more towards the top, you'll see one kind of coming into focus. That one is behind the other two that actually show when he stops. There's three of something in that thermal.
There's definitely three. But anyway, I'll play it again. Look, we're not saying 1000% what it is, but whatever it is, it's big. And the way that it moves, where it
Right
like
there.
starts
See
at
it?
the bottom.
There's the first one. Now down below it, there's the other two.
And it moves in a way where it knows the infrared light is on it, and it intentionally goes to the thick parts of the leaves where the IR is not penetrating. I don't know what you make of that, but it looks like a cat right there. And then it looks like it stands up on 2 feet.
Yeah.
Right. Right in there where they're going, there is a big bunch of vines growing on that part of the trunk right there. And it's not poison ivy, it's like a trumpet vine or Virginia creeper or something like that. But the vines are real thick right there on that part of the trunk. Where
how big are the branches? How big are the branches?
The branch that it was on when it jumped, the branch it jumped off of was probably a good 20 inches in diameter, 20 to 24 inches, something like that. And that's about 30 feet up in the tree, at least, maybe even 35 feet. But I went over there yesterday. If I hadn't been, in church and everything, and hadn't had something going on last night, I was going to send you a bunch of pictures of what this looks like during the daylight. But it's the one that when you first see it, I found where
it depends
where
IR light in order to see it.
Anyway, when you it may not send out IR. I don't know, but I'm not familiar with it. I didn't look at your camera, but anyway,
that one emits IR.
Where you first see it, it's about 20 feet up in the air, and maybe a little bit higher, maybe 25 feet. And like I said, then it moves in, towards the main trunk. In that tree, the trunk sort of splits out into multiple pieces, and then it, where it went up, where it goes up, that part of the trunk there, like I said, it's minimum of 20 inches in diameter and probably more like 2 feet in diameter. And then where it jumped across to it, that's one of the main trunks, and that's a good 2 feet in diameter as well. But I mean, that's a big old tree, and that tree there. And that tree there is another one that's been there for maybe 150 years, because that was part of the pasture, and that tree was left alone to give the cattle a place to loaf around underneath it, to get some shade. That grove of trees there was left in there for the cattle to be able to goof around underneath it. And we used to put wipes and stuff on it, canvas wipes, string them between the trees for the cattle so they'd walk underneath them, and to keep the flies and stuff off. Insect repellent stuff on the wipes, and blocks and stuff like that over there. But when we started row cropping it, we looked at it, and the ground is steep enough there, because that drops off into a big draw. and we decided not to cut the trees or do anything because it'd be a steep farm anyway without doing much of terracing. But yeah, that is a like you can see there. That is a big tree. I mean, real big tree.
And that is a big animal.
Yes, it is.
See, I wondered like that top one. Everybody was asking, said it thought it looked like a cat. I wondered if it was the other two was boogers. May have had a cat trade trying to get up there to it.
I don't know.
Well,
Look
that's
at
what
that.
I'm saying. I looked at it. I was looking at it the other night when Spencer was filming it, which I was sitting behind the wheel trying to ease up and pull up and back up. And I was trying to keep an eye on it. And this is the first I've looked at it since the other night.
All I can tell you is for a fact, it's bigger than what it looks like on the screen. Again, keep in mind that's a one-time zoom from 120 yards away. The tree is huge. If you're talking about, man, it's hard to talk about anything other than a big cat. It's way bigger than like a raccoon or anything that would be up in a tree.
Yeah.
It's way bigger than that. And the way it moves is very... Go ahead.
Well, I've seen 7 cougars in the wild. And when I was in college, I dated a girl who had a pet cougar. Her dad owned her dad owned the Lincoln Mercury dealership, a Lincoln Mercury dealership down in South Alabama. I'm not going to say the town or anything, but this is back in the 70s now, when a lot of the Mercury Cougar ads would have a big cougar laid up on the roof of the car. Well, they thought it would be cool to have a pet cougar, so they bought a cougar that had been, domesticated somewhat. And I dated that girl in college, and that cougar's name was Sandy.
Shut up,
and, and seriously, and that cougar always liked me to come over because I was the only one that would wrestle with it. And so I'm very familiar with the size of a grown cougar. And
you wrestle with a cougar?
Yes, I did. And that
what
thing,
is wrong? What is wrong with you?
What? Hey,
what is wrong with you?
We used to put a leash on and a collar and take it out walking. And what was hilarious is when dogs would come up and want to sniff around on it, and that cougar let them sniff around on her up to a point, but she'd get tired of it, and man, she could swap in just like that. I saw her swat a German Shepherd, about a 90-pound German Shepherd, and seeing it flying. But she didn't have her claws out or anything. But I can't tell you how many times that we turned the sofa upside down in there wrestling. But anyway, so I'm very familiar with cougars and the size of them. Those aren't cougars, and you got to use sort of Occam's razor for this, which you take away everything that you know that is not, and what you're left with, it's got to come out of there. So I've taken away everything, and I'm left with 2 things: either it's boogers, or the first thing that you see in the tree is some guy that weighs about 350 to 450 pounds, maybe something like that, maybe 500 pounds. And the ones on up in the tree are a couple of 7-foot tall acrobats, trapeze artists. And and I don't think it's so. I mean,
but
I don't know.
I looked up.
But
I looked up the last time there was a documented sighting of a cougar, of a mountain lion in Alabama, and I think it was 1956 or something like that, and it was singular. And cougars, bobcats, any type of big cat, they're mostly solitary things. There's not 2 or 3 of them right there in the same area. And in mating season, there might be a couple of them together, but they're not up in a tree. They're on the ground. And if everybody gives me just 1 minute, I'll go get the damn thermal and show you what it was filmed with. Y'all keep talking.
Finally got rid of his ice.
Misty, this is probably, I bet he toted that rock with him to go get the thermal wheel. Bet.
He's going to come back with it on a necklace.
Yes. Misty had come to my house, and some of the stuff that we've took away from people over years is police, and I had a set of brass knuckles that she saw. I said, yeah, those, got confiscated. And then she looked at them. They're actually made out of brass. And I told her, I said, we was talking about that rock. I said, Misty goes, he'll have a necklace made out of it. I said, I know what we need to do. We need to go to my house and get those brass knuckles, and we can have that rock mounted on it. She said, yeah, we can take zip ties and tie that rock. It'd be just like a big hand ring. He just walk around, hold it out. We was afraid. I told him, I said, all the way back to Virginia, 9 hours of driving, he's going to just use one arm because the other hand's going to be holding that rock, like showing it to people on the interstate.
Yeah. He said, I'm going to bed. He said, and I'm sleeping with the rock under my pillow.
Oh.
He's a mess.
We had a time, though. My gosh. Yep.
Go ahead, Coonbo.
Look at that. And if Sherry's still watching, Sherry ain't kidding. Me and Mr. Noble, we tried to keep an eye on Misty. She'd get away from the crowd, and we'd have to call her back. Like, whoop, come on. Is he twisting the thermal? Is that the rock he's holding? Thermal.
It is a AGM. I think it's a TS 134. It's got a real high chip in it. Very, very, very clear definition and everything. I might be wrong a little bit on the model number, but that's what it looks like. So $1,800, $1,900 thermal. It's got one-time zoom as its base magnification. It goes to your phone. You can Bluetooth it to your phone. And that's what, like, Greg and them were looking at, or Colt was, Greg's son. He was riding back there with me, looking at it whenever we recorded it. So that's what thermal is.
Yeah.
Y'all need to keep in mind, though, we were a ways away. That thing, whatever it is, it's big.
Yeah, and like from the same area. I mean, literally that we were, Mark and I was standing back there hearing calls, and it was from the same spot we was going out that you picked.
And if you could take into consideration that the booger tree, the original booger tree that Coonbo talks about, was a few hundred yards behind that, looking at the house and where his family lived, like over there. And then they cut off some of the lower branches. This is a real big tree that's a couple hundred yards closer, but with the corn, and the corn was easily, 6-7 foot tall?
Yeah, 6-7 foot tall. Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
so I mean, they had a
I really think. Yeah, they could easily see over the top of the corn, but I really believe that they saw us. We'd already been in by there 3 times, and we were on our way out. Last time, I really think they were in there just, because they were wanting to see us leave. Wanting just keeping track of us. But I know now I need to be watching over there a lot more. Because that's a couple hundred yards closer than the booger tree, than the old booger tree. So I know now I need to be watching over there. What was funny, Greg, when you and I were, when you and Troy came up a couple of months ago.
That's where that
And
one.
we were down there, clearing away a limb or a tree that fallen across the road. And was it Troy walked up and he said, "Hey, there's something moving right down there."
Yeah, I was sitting there in my truck and I heard it walk up. That's when I was really bunged up. I had to throw enough with my leg. And Troy and Tim was down in front of his truck. I was parked behind Tim's, and I heard the thing coming through that growed up thicket, and it was bipedal, super heavy, breaking limbs. It wasn't trying to be quiet. That thing walked within 20 feet out my driver's side window. I'm talking about I heard it walk from behind me, come past my truck, which my truck was sitting there idling and Tim's was idling, and it walked down there close to where they was, and I got to bumping on my horn, just bump, 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 bump. And Troy come up there, and I said, "There's one in the woods right here. Just walk by." And then Troy telling them said, "Hey, there's something right here." They got in the truck and we left, and we went on down and went around and drove out on the point. We wasn't there just a little while, and they got to throwing stuff at us.
Yeah. We
no.
that
grasshoppers. They're talking about that damn rock.
Yeah, that grown up place. Like I said, it used to be, when it was all cow pasture out there and the cattle ran in there, that was all open underneath those big trees. But now that we're row cropping, we've been row cropping for 10, 12 years, and it's all these privet hedges and small trees and brush and stuff like that have grown up in there, and dadgum old thorn trees and crap. So it's, whereas it used to be you could see all out in there, but it was all wore down from the cattle, but now it's a dadgum thicket like crazy. Yeah.
There might be.
Yeah. But now it makes sense that would become, well, I know it's always been a travel route. When the corn's not there, you can sit out there and you can see coyotes going back and forth, and we had I saw what I'm convinced was a wolf out there one day. Like to caught my old dog Joe, and but that's when the wheat was in there last spring, and it was in May, early May, and the wheat was was all headed out and everything, but it hadn't started turning yet. It was still green, and Jake, who you can hear barking in the background, Jake and Joe, my two male shepherds, had gone out in the wheat. Hush, Jake. Enough. And he's a retired police dog, and he won't give up when he gets his mind set on something. And hang on just a second. Let me just let him out.
Yeah, he needs to go out.
Anyway, Jake and Joe had gone out in the field, and they were out there about halfway in between the booger tree and where we did those thermals, and where you got the thermal, and I was sitting on the porch, and I just had to look out there, and here comes Jake hauling butt back to the house. And then I see Joe is standing out there looking over towards that tree that you got in the thermal that's got something in it. And then this huge damn canine looking thing came out of that brush, that little scope of woods out into the wheat field. And Joe, he said, "Well, who is that?" Joe took off and ran towards it about 40, 50 yards, and he slammed on the brakes. And I looked, and oh crap, the wheat was up about halfway up on Joe's body. So I couldn't even see his legs. I could see his back and his head and his tail and everything. But this thing, I could see I could see 4 to 6 inches of daylight under its belly. So I knew it was huge. Well, I jumped up, went running out there towards the edge of the field. And about this time, Joe had figured out, oh, crap, I've messed up. He takes off running to the house through that wheat as hard and fast as he could go. This thing took off after him. And, let me see, if, Joe's way over here and this I think it was a wolf was way over here, Joe takes off running. The wolf takes off and, the wolf was on an intercept course. And Joe's probably the fastest dog I've ever owned. And Joe caught a couple of gears I didn't even know he had, but this thing was still gaining on him. And it got close enough that it was Joe was scared. He started squalling, even though he was running wide open. He thought he was fixing to get caught. I'm running down there hollering and screaming, and I ain't even got a gun. And I had been out there and didn't even have a gun handy. And all I had was my pocket knife. And I actually pulled this pocket knife and flipped it open, and I go running out there, and I turned it around like this, and hey, I wasn't going to let that thing get my dog without a fight. And I'm running at it, and I'm screaming, and Joe is hollering, and and right as I got to the edge of the corn, Joe cleared corn, the edge of the wheat. Joe cleared. He just shot right past me, never broke stride, ran on up to the house and up on the porch. And this thing, and I'm yelling and waving my arms and stuff, and it slammed on the brakes, and it turned sideways to me probably about 40, 50 feet away from me. And again, I could still see 4 to 6 inches of daylight under its belly. And I'm pretty sure it was a wolf. And it wasn't a red wolf, though. It didn't have the reddish colored tail, but it did have I think it might have been a timber wolf, red wolf hybrid or something, or cross.
Yeah, but how tall did you say the wheat was?
The wheat on me was probably about knee high, maybe a little bit higher than knee high.
And you saw 3-4 inches of daylight underneath that thing's belly and the wheat?
I saw 4 to 6 inches of daylight under its belly. I'd say probably closer to 4 inches of daylight. Yeah. This thing was huge. I figure it weighed probably around 175 pounds. And like I said, it was not a pure red wolf for sure. It was some kind of a wolf, and it could have been a timber wolf. Those things can wander like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles. Yeah. And I know we saw one occasion. We'd come across one occasionally up in Missouri, up in northern Missouri, when I'd be deer hunting, and those things weren't supposed to be in there, but we would see them on occasion. And but so it's not totally impossible that one could be down here. And I know there used to be a fair amount of red wolves around here. When I lived over in Mississippi back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I lived in between two packs that lived over near the Tin Tom Waterway. And, I'd hear them howling back and forth at night. And I've seen them several times. My boy didn't believe me. I was telling him about it one day, and he didn't believe me. And about a month later, we were going out cutting through the backwoods, headed over towards Baldwin, Mississippi, or someplace, going to grab a bite to eat at a little old restaurant. And I'm going along and passing a bean field, and there's one of them trotting across this bean field. And then, I actually got to see a couple of packs of them down there. So, but anyway, it wasn't a dog man. It wasn't that. This thing was an actual wolf of some variety. But it came out of that draw right below that tree that you just got these thermals in.
That ain't no wolves in the tree unless they learn to climb and jump like that up in tree.
Nope, nope. Wolves don't climb trees. Yeah, we used to see a wolf, my dad and I, when we would be fishing down in along Big Bear Creek, which is a backwater that off Pickwick Lake, down there where Alabama, Mississippi, and Tennessee come together. And we used to see in the mornings this red wolf. He had him a regular little route that he would run, and we'd see him trotting along the bank. And I can't tell you how many times we saw him, and then some jerk shot him and killed him.
Really?
I hated it. Yeah, they found out who did it and arrested him. But anyway, the guy was bragging about it, and they busted him, which I was glad, because that wolf, there wasn't any reason to kill that wolf. He wasn't bothering a soul.
Yeah.
And, looking at some of these comments, let me tell y'all, I've been to outings with some of these people, and not going to name names or anything, but I'd bring up something about a picture or whatnot. And whatever, Leanne. And half of these people would break out their phones and show pictures that they have on their phones of boogers. And I can promise y'all, some of the stuff I've seen, like, they don't post it. They don't post on Facebook. They don't post on YouTube. They keep it. And some of the stuff I've seen, pictures off people's phones, is way more impressive than 99% of the stuff that you'll see on YouTube and Facebook. But everybody has become so jaded. They've become so frustrated with the Bigfoot community as a whole.
Yeah.
They don't post everything that they get. And some of the stuff is so clear, it makes the patty film look like, cupcakes. I mean, there are people out there that have some real pictures and video that is really, really impressive. So y'all know.
Oh, yeah. Well, Spencer, that's just like, I don't care what you do to audio record. It's never gonna compare to hearing it with your own ears. You can't. I mean, I don't care what you use.
Oh, yeah. Same difference. When you're there in person and you hear it, you clearly go, hey, that's not a coyote. That's not like anything that you're used to hearing. And it just...
Come on, Spencer. Coonbo, try to go out and come back in. I know that's what you're trying to do, is fix your screen.
Yeah.
Can you go out and come back?
Yeah, let me do that. Leave the studio. Here we go.
Yep.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Spencer.
No.
I could tell he was trying to fix it, and I tried to fix it for him, and it didn't work.
Well, I hate it that he kept freezing up and everything, but his audio was pretty good. So at least if anybody goes back and watches this, they can hear what he was talking about and everything.
You realize that we still, according to this, we got how many people still on?
83. We've been
83
hours and 38 minutes.
Wow. They've hung in here with us today, ain't they?
Well, is it Coonbo's on here? You're on here, Greg. They ain't tuning in for my dumb ass. They're tuning in to listen to y'all. But
Misty don't even have her weather girl suit on.
I know. See, look, I don't even have to do that no more.
She'd have her weather girl suit on with that 200, don't we?
If Misty tilts camera down a little bit further, just 2 or 3 inches, we'll pick up 10, 12.
Y'all cute.
They'll be wanting fake pics.
I think my camera must have a time limit on it or something.
I don't know. Thank you, Troy. I appreciate that.
We got to get Troy in at least a live chat with us.
We got to get him behind the scenes so he can at least tell us everything, and we can sit there and just be like, while he's talking and everything, even if we don't make it a live broadcast. A whole show of stories from Coonbo. I know. Yeah. Well, Coonbo needs to do some kind of damn documentary thing, even if he doesn't publish it and like have all this stuff ready to go in case anything happens to him.
Yeah.
Coonbo, you can't.
I let
Coonbo, all these other people do all these. They do all the what do you call them? Where everybody gets together, they sell tickets to it. I can't think of the name for it.
You talking about like a roast? No, I'm kidding.
a conference.
Yeah. Well, all these people get out on conferences and they release books and everything. Coonbo's a damn wealth of information. You need to write down a manuscript for a book or something, or do like private video things where you just record all this stuff. Huh?
Yeah, I've started. I've got probably 7-8 chapters written, and I just, I'm really not interested in trying to make any money off of it. I mean,
y'all, when Coonbo and them go out boogering,
do what?
When Coonbo and them go out boogering, they don't take recorders or cameras or thermals or nothing like that. They just go out there just trying to get interaction. All of us newbies that like haven't really experienced the level of what they have, we're out there, we're loaded to the gill with like high-tech equipment and everything. They don't even care about that. They just go out and do all this kind of stuff.
I've worn out recorders, $1,400 microphones, thermals, cameras, and it doesn't do anything as far as proving anything. Nobody believes it anyway, and it's just a bunch of crap. I've missed more junk. I've missed more good stuff messing with cameras and recorders and things.
Right
now, I believe that I think the thermal is the most useful tool out there, and I want to get another thermal, but because that allows you to see them when you can't see them otherwise. And I've used night vision scopes, but the IR that those require to work very well is the IR does alert them, and sometimes they run off, but they but I just I'm more interested in learning and teaching than I am. I already know they exist, and and I'm not trying to prove anything. And if somebody doesn't like what I say, that's okay. Opinions are like buttholes. Everybody's got one, and a large percentage of them stink. And but MSNBC. That's where the head comes from. I don't care what MSNBC says either. But anyway, I hope MSNBC doesn't even know I exist. But anyway, I would like to write one, write a book that was more instructional than trying to trying to make money off of it or whatever. And I don't know if anybody'd buy it or not, but I've got a lot of the research I've done be pretty boring to people. One of the things I've done, I've studied Bigfoot habitat all over the country, and I've actually been on the ground in the boonies, looking for these things and looking for evidence and stuff in 43 out of 50 states. And what's crazy, one of the states I've never been in researching is South Carolina, as close as it is to here. But of course, I haven't been to Alaska or Hawaii, or I haven't been to Oregon. I haven't researched in Montana. Let me see. Alaska, Hawaii, Oregon, Montana, Michigan, Connecticut, and South Carolina. That's the states I haven't researched in. And People say, you've researched in Rhode Island? Yeah, there's boogers in Rhode Island. There's also boogers on Staten Island, New York, believe it or not, in 2 places. But 2 places I know of. But, I've researched in city limits of Chicago and found them. Yeah, I need to let him in. Are you going to let him in? I'll let him in. Hang on. I'll be right back. You got it? Okay. And, yeah, Jake's out there letting me know I want to. But, I spent years off and on researching this, keeping track of the populations and the different troops of boogers in this one roughly 300 square mile area in northeast Mississippi, and of just absolutely prime booger habitat. And I counted them often enough, and I used the same methods and the same software that the Forestry Service and Audubon uses to count and keep track and estimate the population of rare species of birds and other animals. And Troy, we ain't interested in no Bond Swamp.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is, but that's the second time he's brought it up. Must be important.
That's a boogery play, but I've done that, and basically I use that area as my base. I mean my standard for comparing for how many boogers per square a piece of land can support, and I've learned how to identify booger habitat. And I got a lot of time invested in this population estimate, nationwide population estimate. And my gut feeling is there's over 100,000 of them in the United States. My survey estimate is somewhere around 64 to 66,000. That's a very conservative estimate, but my gut feeling is that there's a lot more than that. There's probably 100 to 120,000.
Well, but what are you looking for as far as what you think as like booger territory habitat? Can you give us like a rough overall of what you're looking for whenever you're thinking booger habitat?
You got to have a good food supply. You've got to have an all year water source. You've got to have a concealed area or an area that is in there somewhere that could be sort of whatever that would be where they would could have their birth their young, and that's out of the way and is that good where they can guard or watch the approaches to it and allow adequate time to escape. There's got to be places where they can get out of the weather, and like I said, a good all-year water source or year-round water source, and that could be irrigation ditches. I found out in California and in New Mexico that they're hanging out around irrigation ditches and where they're irrigating fields and stuff. You've got and I have found some in unbelievably remote places, little springs, almost like a little oasis. And I heard from a cowboy on a ranch out in New Mexico that they were seeing them in this one area, and I got to looking on a map, and it showed a spring up on the side of a hill, and rode out there, and there's a bunch of green brush and stuff out there. So I decided to crawl in through that brush and see if that spring was really there. And my research buddy that was with me, he was sitting down there in the truck, and he said, when I crawled in one side of this thicket, 4 boogers came out the other side. And yeah, and I got in there, and all all around the spray. It wasn't even water. It wasn't even, and it was coming out of the ground, running about 4 or 5 feet and soaking right back into the ground. But there were tracks all over the place in there. And that's another thing. He watched the boogers go up into this little box canyon. We went in there and looked around for taking turns. One of us ended up watching where we could see the whole canyon. We never did find those boogers. Another thing, that they got some way of concealing themselves, or they holes that we couldn't find. Don't know, but that's a whole nother story. But but all right, so you gotta have travel ways you gotta have travel routes to travel over a pretty good size area, but for some of their food, and that can be hedgerows, that could be ditch lines that's got brush growing in the ditches, that could be shelter belts around the edge of along the edge of a highway, or wake up, Greg, or
dozing off.
Or it could be
slept an hour and a half last night.
Yeah,
I'm totaled up to about 8 hours sleep since Misty comes this week. Yeah. I'm sitting here. I'm in deep thought.
Yeah, but it's got to have, one of the things that's pretty important. You got to have edge cover, and that's where you go from woods to like fields or something, and that edge cover concentrates wildlife. That's a fact, and if you can find like in a national forest where they're logging sections of it out at a time, that creates edge cover, and there's a lot of sightings around stuff like that. It's those are the things that I look for, and I have a way that I rate stuff, and and I wrote a thing called Boogers by the Numbers, and that was going to be one of the chapters of my book, and it explains all how I did it. And I went and rated. I took every state in the union, every single state in the union, and I looked at the whole state, and it's spent a lot of time studying agricultural maps and forestry maps and stuff like that for every state, and looking at aerial photographs and Google Earth, Google Maps, stuff like that, and came up with ratings, and really and truly I came up with a boogers per square mile rating, and figured out an average rating for the state, and then multiplied that into the number of square miles of the state, and came up with an estimated booger population for every state. And of course, there's some of them that I really don't know how to deal with Alaska, so that was just a sort of a swag. And one of the things that I know from spending time up in in the Ponderosa pine forest and stuff in New Mexico and Arizona and Wyoming and stuff, that's not near as good a habitat that is what we have here, but you get over into the Pacific Northwest, and it's such a tremendously vastly different habitat and everything, ecosystem than what we have here, but there's quite a few of them there. So I think my estimates for Washington and Oregon are low, but that's why I say that my gut feeling is there's somewhere over a little over 100,000 of them here nationwide, but my conservative estimate that I stand behind is around 65,000 of them. Yeah.
And y'all, Tim used to work for Coonbo, used to work for NASA. I mean, NASA. he's got the science. Do what?
I worked for NASA. I worked for NASA and the Army Missile Command, and
Yeah,
I was a test engineer for years. And, but anyway,
he's got the engineering scientific background behind him. You're not going to hear a lot of people talk about boogers in this kind of educated fashion as like what he's laying out. It's beyond me. I've done met the man a few times and talked to him, a few times, and I can't keep up with all of the facts that he puts out there and everything. This is why you should go back and watch like Coonbo's older interviews. You should go back and watch Greg's older interviews, Mark Green's older interviews. They all coincide whenever you're talking about boogers and everything. Coonbo, did you freeze up again?
yeah, I did. You want
I
me to go
got a
out
question.
and come back?
No, you're okay. We can hear you okay.
Okay. Well,
All the signs and things, you think there's so many of them around. All of the structures and stuff like that. I mean, we all obviously know that they mean something, right? So
yeah.
do they coexist with each other though? I mean, like, do you have like one clan here, one clan there, and they're like coming together for a cookout? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
well, the thing about it is, a lot of the sign you see, X formations and stuff like that, that's their version of fences. And an old country saying is, good fences make good neighbors.
Right.
And that's why I'm going through an area looking for trying to get an idea of the booger population. I look for X formations and twists and breaks and stuff like that, because I've been to quite a few places where I found a troop of boogers, but there wasn't a lot of sign around them. And so that tells me that's an isolated troop, and that they ain't got no neighbors. So if you ain't got no neighbors, if you don't have any neighbors to worry about, why waste the time and the energy to build fences that you don't need? But when I go into some areas where I see a lot of X formations, a lot of twists, breaks, snaps, things like that, then that's to tell the neighboring troop that, hey, this is my territory. That's why you were describing driving down a road and looking off on one side and you saw quite a bit of sign.
Yes.
And if you didn't see it on the other side, that's because you were driving down the border between two troops.
That's what we were talking about. Yeah.
The only thing that I can guarantee you is directed at us is when you come across a dadgum tree that's upside down, jammed in the ground with the roots up in the air. And well, now those, I don't know if they throw rocks at each other or not. They might if they get in a big fight. But those rocks are thrown not to hit us, but just to let us know that they're there. And I've seen, but they can also, the bigger the rocks that they throw, the more, the bigger the rocks, the madder they are at you. The biggest rock that I've ever seen or weighed that I know was thrown at a person that they were trying to run out of an area, they threw the rock 60 from where it was pulled up out of the ground to where it hit the ground by where the guy was standing was 63 feet, and the rock weighed 367 pounds or something like that, or 368 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. And it threw it 60. Well, I'm not saying it threw it the whole distance, but it was where it was picked up off the ground or pulled up out of the ground and thrown. It hit 63 feet from where it came up out of the ground. And
but 300 and some pounds?
Yeah. It chased this guy for over 3 miles, running him out of the woods. And now that's a whole nother story. But I just happened to come across him. And if I hadn't come across him, I don't know what would have happened to him. He came running up. I saw a light out in the wood, out in the distance across a loadout area where they loaded logs were a logging operation where they loaded the logs out of onto logging trucks to haul them off to the paper mill. And I just happened to be going across this loadout area, and I saw a light down at the far end, waving back and forth, and I could tell it was getting close to me. So I just stopped and pulled my gun out because I didn't know what this, who this was or whatever. A guy came running up to me. He was stripped down. He had on nothing but his hunting boots and his long john bottoms. That's all he had on. And he was carrying a Browning BAR 7mm Magnum. And two or three boogers had been chasing him for a little over 3 miles, running him out of the woods. And he would go as far as he could, and he'd run out of breath, and they'd start yanking up pine saplings, and out of the ground and chunking at him, and rocks, whatever they could get their hands on, and screaming at him. He'd get his breath, and he'd go till he couldn't go anymore. And but that's
anybody that has listened this far, 3 hours in, is a serious Coonbo Baker fan. And either that or they were really impressed with my rippy repertoire, my comments, and everything. It wasn't Misty. Ain't nobody like her.
I think it was Coonbo. It damn sure wasn't you. Sorry.
Y'all,
I need to get off of here.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. We're 3 hours in. Hey, Coonbo, maybe if you get a chance, maybe we could set a date a few months from now where you could go over. People have questions for all your stuff, way back when. You're like a encyclopedia of Bigfoot activity. Maybe we could get you to do it again where you just mostly respond to people's questions or something.
I could do that. I've done that before. Yeah. And
but
now just remember, I don't know and I don't remember are good answers. Yeah.
Well, y'all, if you would have gotten to see his property like we did, not trying to rub it in, but that was impressive. Whenever he stepped out and said hello and did a call and the thing called back, that was impressive. Going to Greg's property and seeing all that, going to Mark Green's property, seeing all that. I'm going to wrap it up by saying Alabama is where it's at. But you got to go there in person. Watching YouTube videos, you only get 1/1000th of the flavor of what everything is really like and everything. Thank you, Coonbo, very much for doing the show. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Greg.
Yes, sir. Thank you all.
Yeah. And
thank you for letting us come out, both of you. Y'all, this was I've had so much fun. This has been one of my favorite trips ever. And
it was
so active. And you go out, I'm going to tell you now, they get a lot of stuff. If you go out, you're a female, you're going to get quite a bit, especially if you're alone, because they do like females.
Well, I'm just glad y'all got to come down here and see what I've been trying to tell y'all about.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. Laying eyes on it in person is a whole different thing. You get to put it all in perspective and see the distances. And just like how thick the woods were right there, Greg. I'm out in the damn mountains. I'm out in the middle of nowhere, but my woods ain't as thick as yours. It makes a difference.
Yeah.
I just want to say a shout out to everybody that's still hung in here with us, even the ones that had to give up on us today. Man, big love to all y'all.
Yes, sir. I agree.
Leanne loves you, Coonbo. Yeah, we all love Coonbo. Whatever, Leanne.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. We've been over 3 hours. We got to bounce, people. Thank you for showing up and watching the show. That was a lot of y'all.
Yeah.
All righty. We'll see y'all. Bye.
See ya.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good Sunday.
Bye.
right, it's the